You guys to repeat me, I'm sorry, because I have not stopped talking all day,
Oh, no.
so. Well, only one is talking. the other one's-
So for live streaming, apologies for the late start. I'm going to go ahead and call the Town of Rochester Town Board January business meeting to order. If we could all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Hopper. Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Sneeson.
Here.
Supervisor Allen.
Here. Great. So our first item is the acceptance of the agenda. I have a couple of amendments. And just number one, I think actually the only amendment that I have is in our this town board discussion. The first discussion item will be the filling of the vacancy of the town board seat. So I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as good.
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, so first up, we've got the financial report. I have circulated the year-to-date for 2024 of the budget versus actual. But in the agenda that I circulated, I had some approximate numbers for December revenue and expenditures. So I'm gonna give you the exact numbers right now. So I needed to review a couple and adjust a couple of things. So general fund revenue is $362,065.80. The highway fund revenue is the same, $8,552.70. Total expenditures for general is $243,795.62. And the highway fund expenditures is $126,303.13. Capital fund, street lighting fund, ambulance fund, escrow fund are all as presented on the agenda. And abstract 12 of 2024 is as we approved it at that meeting. So moving on, so I've little slight different agenda structure. In our next section, I'm just going to call that town reports, where we have the supervisor's report, town clerk, tax collector report, highway report, and then any department reports. So I can start with the supervisor's report. Just some updates. We are awaiting the right-of-way acquisition for the bridge, the Boyce-Mill Bridge. I met with the county at the end of December, and that project is on schedule. We do have an amended schedule, so the letting of that bridge is planned for 2026. The same for the Project 32 bridge replacement. That letting is scheduled for 2026. And I'm just getting together the agreements for the Sundown Culvert replacement, which is, I think, going to be a shorter time frame for that. But I don't have any updated time frame for that. I know I haven't reported on the New York Rising Allegorville Firehouse in a long time, but we're still waiting on the closeout of that. So the GOSER has been they're reviewing everything and catching things here or there. So we're still awaiting the final payment of that, which is about $15,000. Everything else of that has been paid out. Then the bathroom project at the park, we just got the water tests done, and I'm trying to get a good time schedule for that so that we can complete that in time to get our, the 100,000 reimbursement grant that we have from the county. I don't really feel like I have anything else to report, so I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to Kate.
Okay, so for town clerk, for the beginning of the year, I have to close out and do a year-end report to the board. I will have that to the board probably by the end of next week, and that is all the revenue that we collect for the various departments, and you'll see the year-end report on that. As far as tax collector, tax bills went out last Thursday or Friday, depending on if we got them out for you. There was a delay on the county end on that. That's why people didn't get them a few days sooner. It's running smooth. And that's about all I have to report.
Great. Next, I'd like to invite Deputy Highway Superintendent Gunberg up. You want to come up to the table?
No, I'm good.
Oh, so then we have a couple of agenda items. I asked her to be here, but could go ahead and report on those at the beginning of the meeting, so you don't have to stay.
Sure. The report, it's been a mild winter so far, thank God. Cold, but not much snow. We have crews out patching holes, cutting brush. We have a rented arm mower running every day. Our normal wintertime stuff, moving along with that. So that's pretty much it for now.
Great. And then just while you're here, we did have the item on the purchasing of the truck. So do you want us to go ahead and move forward with that resolution tonight?
It won't be until next year that we can do it. So that's up to you guys.
Okay,
It's gonna be a ways away before we can spend the money to do it.
yeah, so, but we don't need to pre-order it or?
Not right away.
Okay,
I was shocked the other day when they told me that we've been hearing that a truck is 2 to 3 years away. We heard the other day, I talked to a guy and the company told me they were only 6 months away. And we're just not ready financially to do it just yet.
okay,
So we're gonna have to wait a little while before we actually order it,
okay,
so.
great, so we can cross that bridge when we get to it then.
Right.
Great, well, thanks for being here, Jared, we really appreciate it. So department reports, I did get a report from the constabulary. I can read that, or do you have it up? Do you wanna read it?
I don't have enough.
Okay, okay. So I did, let me go, here we go, so the constabulary answered 19 direct calls for service and other duties in December 2024, 12 neighbor to neighbor and quality life complaints, 5 resident traffic complaints, 2 environmental complaints, no new building department violations or court cases, 8 court proceedings remain open and 0 court proceedings closed. The interesting occurrences this past month, traffic speed and stop sign issues were foremost once again, with many complaint calls. Neighbor to neighbor and quality life complaints have increased as the cold weather kept people in homes. Elder care members having medical issues that required emergency response was a frequent occurrence this month. Short-term rental properties continue to generate the majority of other complaints, with Fridays and weekends being the most active. The complaints are mainly comprised of trespassing, loud noise, road, driveway blockages, as well as household trash dumping. This month, we had a dramatic increase with nighttime issues at the town park, with people and vehicles being there long after dusk when the park is closed. We also had several cars parked in violation in the municipal parking lot rules on different nights and in different lots. Rich is working with Supervisor Nowen on additional signage at the park entrance and municipal parking areas. Cedar Drive, Berm Road, Lucas, Kaiserreich, Towpath, County Route 6 intersections continue to generate higher speeds and traffic control sign infractions violations. In fact, ignoring of stop signs is the #1 traffic violation throughout the town. The traffic patrols on these roads have seen decrease in frequency of complaints on those roads. Rich continues to monitor the situation. There were quite a few of additional EMS calls during this month as well. So, yeah, it was very cold. Did anyone receive any other department reports, just as we had the liaison changeover? Okay, great. Now we'll talk about that in the discussion portion of the meeting. So moving on to board and committee reports. Alexis, do you want to start?
All right, my first one. So Climate Smart Task Force, I had my initial meeting with them talking about bronze accreditation. I don't have exact numbers, but it's somewhere around 80%. So that'll be a focus ongoing. They need to pick a leader, what is the rep, the committee person. And then schedule the next meeting. So we're waiting a couple weeks for that. The Agriculture Advisory Committee, I was introduced via email and waiting to see what they're going to do and schedule the next meeting. And then Environmental Conservation Commission, I think the meeting January 28th. So I'll attend that one. And that's it.
Perfect, thank you. Charlotte, do you have anything to report?
I do. I'm gonna start, I'm actually gonna do them in reverse.
That's totally fine.
If that's okay, because the other one's on my phone that's charging in the corner. So, the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, has yet to be formed, so no updates on them. For the Housing Advisory Committee, they do have a meeting next Wednesday with, Tiffany and Kevin, our consultants from, HAC. To go over some more next steps on the housing site inventory. They've been meeting and discussing a lot about the corridors and where the two sections of town that we're gonna be focusing are. Trying to make a determination on that, and they have come to one. When I pulled the board individually, we had a different one, the county had a different one, so that's why later on discussion, we'll be discussing that, and I'm gonna show you guys the presentation they had given us to help us choose the corridors. And then the Senior and Youth Recreation Commission, I just need to go. Happy New Year from the Town of Rochester Recreation Department. On Monday, January 27th, there will be an adult paint class at the Harold Lippman Community Center. This class is currently full, but please call to be put on the wait list if interested. On Friday, February 14th, the Recreation Department will be running a community trip to Resorts World Catskills in Monticello, sorry. Thought that was backwards. Please call 845-626-2115 to sign up or get more information. Participants must be 21 years of age or older to attend. Classes are ongoing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're hoping for line dancing to begin again in the spring. And that is what we have for this month. And just as a separate note, thank you for all the hard work and dedication that the rec department, the senior youth, Recreation Commission put into the holidays for our community and all the hard work that goes into the community center, the different events and programs that they do. So just huge thank you to everyone and anyone involved in all of those, anyone who served at any of the luncheons. And then also I did talk to Rich about elder care, and this is their busy time of the year. They had a very busy month. It was they had 2 new signups, and one of which who ended up needing assistance a couple weeks after signing up, and having to get a ambulance to transport them somewhere. So we were able to help get that coordinated with that elder care program. So that's all for now.
Great. Michael?
Yeah, I only have a few things. I haven't had a chance to connect with the planning board. It's taking that over yet.
1 week.
1 week zoning board of appeals. There's a meeting next Wednesday. Obviously, we need to fill some seats on that as well, and the chair position squared away there. Ambulance Improvement District. I know those are on the agendas. The contracts are on the agendas today. We heard from Joe Vitti about the report that they're going to be providing for their year-end report. So looking forward to seeing that. And free exchange, I haven't had a chance to link up with the folks running the free exchange. Short but sweet.
We like that. Kate?
Mine's gonna be shorter and sweeter. They did not meet
Love it.
last month. And their next 2-month meetings fall on holidays, so they're trying to find dates that will work for them. It really won't conflict with anything here because they meet at the museum, but today they were all discussing what days would work for them best, and we'll get that out on the website when they pick those dates.
Perfect.
And that's it.
Okay. Next up, we have our public comment portion of the meeting and our few minutes above the time, beyond the time that I put, just want to make sure. Okay, so, in this portion of the meeting, any persons, we welcome the public to come during this portion of the meeting, and then we now have a second portion at the end of the meeting for anyone that wants to come later or would like to comment at the end of a meeting. Any person speaking to the board shall address their remarks to the board, not to other members of the audience in the form of debate. The town board will not respond to questions or comment made during the public comment session. However, a board member may respond should they wish during board member time of the agenda. So just a reminder that if you stay after you make a comment, there's a chance we could address your questions. So with that, I'll open the public comment portion. I don't think we have anyone on Zoom. So is there anyone, members of the public that would like to address the board tonight? Jerry?
On purpose, if nobody else wants to speak, I want to just give a very brief presentation. Those of you who don't know, I think I'm now close to my 20th year as emergency management director for the town. And as I guaranteed, you will not have emergencies while I am the director. I will continue to make sure we have no emergencies. However, having been glued to the TV with what is happening and our neighbors to the way out west in California, I recalled that I took a class because I was sworn in to this position while we had a very serious fire situation going on here at the Minnewaska Preserve. And in fact, it had jumped 4455, which was a real concern coming down past the granite and so forth. And a class was put on, and my background, by the way, comes mostly from the work I did in federal law enforcement. So there were definitely man-made or types of emergencies that were not ones of natural origin. Be that as it may, I knew that I had different things I have to learn. And one of those things that I'd like to bring up to the board to consider, Kate had a really good point this afternoon when I spoke to her about it. I took this class called Firewise, and this class that was done down in the Napanock Firehouse back when I came on in about 2006, I think I got sworn in there, while the fires were raging. That class really opened my eyes as to how we can educate our community to be safer. And especially what's happening right now in LA County and around California. We've been very lucky. We have a great fire department. We have great response. We don't have to worry about fire hydrants because we don't have any. Unlike Ellenville now, I think they're now running all water up 209. But we really should have, and with more and more construction and so forth going on, I think, and I'd like the board, and I can leave this tonight or tomorrow. Like I said, I'm gonna stop and see Aaron over that other matter. And I can reach out and try to arrange that we could have one of these Firewise specialists come and speak right here at the Lipton Center, because we can put it through anybody who's not able to come, but they'll be able to review it through their home TV, whatever, computers. But I'm just reviewing some of the things that I took note of, and it really is great. And I am here to tell you, I'm in violation in my own home right now of some of these things. So it gives you stuff just to think about, and especially if there is one, not if, but when, we will have another one of these serious fire conditions. So I'd like just to use this few minutes to mention it to the board that I really think, as your emergency management person, this would go a great way, especially with people that are coming into the community. I've been here 51 years. And it's never too late to learn certain things and change your ways. But for the newer people coming in, they need to understand, and I just experienced this where I live back on the end of a one-way road, if you will, dead end. And that truly has the right terminology. If we end up with a fire back there, it would be a dead end because there's no place to get through out of there with the Bly Swamp. And with noticing more houses going up in these places, it is imperative that we have places for emergency vehicles. These fire trucks are big, the ambulances are getting bigger and so forth. So we need to consider that, and it's the kind of thing that might have to even be part of our zoning as well, that it may not be safe for the old people, the occupants of these new homes. So I'm gonna talk more with you, Aaron, and if you could spread this, you know, and we'll put together something if that's acceptable to the members, okay? Thank you all, and who's ever listening.
Jerry, is there anyone else that would like to address the board tonight? Okay. So I don't think we have anyone. So now town board member time.
Well, the one public comment we got, I'll respond. I think it's a great idea. Anything we can do for people's in-home safety, and that's also good for the community at large, I think is great. So I think exploring that idea is wonderful, and thank you for bringing it up into our attention, Jerry.
Yeah, along those lines, I'm just wondering if there's any websites or materials that we can look at. I think you said Firewise.
Firewalk, yes. In fact, the simple handout that would go out is make your home Firewise. But it actually is, and we can find it online, it's www.firewise.org is the location in which these, and believe it or not, it's based through the home builders, and it's out of Tampa, Florida. But again, it gives some really great information, of which we all will look at this and say, oh my God, I've got unsafe situations in my own home and so forth. So at least open your eyes to what you might not be aware of.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate Jerry's comments as well, and I think too the fact that he mentioned, you know, zoning and the importance of looking at zoning code. I know that's one of the reasons we brought up for reassessing that, because where people are building, how dense it is, making sure that there's access for emergency vehicles is critical for that. I think the other important reminder Jerry mentions, you know, not thinking about things that you could be doing. You know, I know talking to the fire district, something as simple as having a house number that you can see so that they can find you. And, you know, a lot of these back roads, they're not well lit. And they could be looking for a house and driving around, and it's not easy to turn around when you go the wrong way. So when people are building, having clearly marked street signs, making sure that they're visible, making sure that your house number is visible, can definitely help emergency personnel get to you quickly. So good reminder. Thank you, David.
Thank you. So unless there's any other issues the board wants to bring up, we can move on to the resolution portion of the meeting. So the first resolution is motion to approve the minutes as presented. So those are yes, so those are the December 12th public hearing, the December 12th regular business meeting, the December 19th special meeting, and the December 30th business and audit meeting. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So our next item is approval of the donations. I have those, so I'll go ahead and read them. So I'll make a motion to accept the following donations: 101 cash donations for the senior holiday brunch, $200 for Thanksgiving luncheon from Marlene Dunn, $273.90 from St. Pauli Textile, and $25 for the senior holiday brunch from Elaine and Mel Tapper. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Oh, one note on donations, fun fact, that maybe you guys knew this, but I was misunderstanding it, but when we accept a donation for a specific amount, for a specific reason, we have to use the funding for that. Okay, so just wanted to share that. So we are tabling resolution C, as we just discussed. Resolution D, 2025 highway fund budget modification. I do have some amendments to this, so if you guys are okay, I'll just make this motion as well. And so motion to authorize the budget officer to amend the 2025 highway budget as follows: to move $10,000 from DA 5110.2 maintenance of roads equipment to DA 5110.441 maintenance of roads professional services in order to service the electric connection for the pump on towpath. After this modification, DA 5110.2 will have 0 and DA 511.441 will have 11,500 budgeted for the year. Any discussion? We do have a quote for the electric service for that, which is right now it's 6,500. But we typically don't spend any money out of that equipment line. So, and we do out of professional services. So we decided to just go ahead and put that in because we think what we had originally budgeted that $10,000 for was in case we needed to replace the pump. So this is this is a much better solution because hopefully we won't have to replace the pump again. And I thank Jared for getting this figured out and acting on it quickly. And it feels good to have this taken care of early in the year. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Anybody wanna?
I motion for to authorize the town supervisor to sign a contract renewal with Crosspoint agreement for phone devices.
As presented, we should have.
As presented.
Second.
Any discussion? So the one thing, our contract expired. We have a new service agreement for the year. It's both a one-time charge and then it's $400 a month for all the phones. We are planning to investigate the voice over IP, which would be a savings over what we're currently doing. So that's the only. We might change over to a new system with new phones before then, but.
So we're out the upfront costs. But can we cancel mid-year if we want to and not pay the remainder of the monthly charges if we wanted to switch over? Or are we locking in?
I believe so, but we could amend the motion to include that contract amendment, and if it's not accepted, then we would put it back on an agenda.
I mean, I think Crosspoint came and talked to us and was suggesting that we go to voice over IP. So I think we should offer that And then make it a point of trying to move to that.
So you wanna make that, you wanna amend the motion?
Yeah, can we
Okay.
amend the motion to request they modify the contract to allow us to terminate within the 1 year period of performance? Or the 1 year period of contract
For the monthly services.
for the monthly services.
So can we vote on that as amended? Okay, all in favor?
Sorry, do we have to say that you can offer it? If they don't accept that you can offer it as is? Like, do we need another board meeting then to authorize you? Is that okay? Or are they gonna?
I think it should.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So that was all of our new business. So for old business, these are carryovers from the organizational meeting. I have the numbers for the town contractual services. I'm open to having another board member make the motion, any motions that you want.
I'd like to make a motion that pursuant to town law, Article 4, Section 64(6), that the town board approves the following contractual service expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and authorizes the supervisor to execute on behalf of the town any related contracts upon submittal of an accounting by the organization of the use of 2024 funding and the expectation of the purpose of the 2025 funding. Do I need to read these out? That's not a G though, actually.
Oh, yeah, that was a typo.
Do you want me to read them out?
It's up to you.
Or you can say yes, presenting.
As presented on, I mean, it's in the agenda. So.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? For backup, I did send the agreement with Marbletown or Stone Ridge Library. That outlines the costs and the number of memberships, so those are now available to residents. So we have a number of library memberships that are being provided through this.
And those people fill those up every year.
Yes, yeah.
And this year we have more, it sounds like,
No, they are
proposing.
proposing that we increase it, but I think we should discuss how we want to utilize the relationship moving forward. So. Okay,
Did we get anything from the work? Any more details on the pool?
other than what you reported? No,
You didn't get any breakdown? Okay. I get it.
can I call the vote?
Yep.
Or I guess you guys call the vote, not me. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. Next resolution. So I'll make a motion. Well, I don't know, how do you guys want to do this?
Should we talk about through?
We could, it's,
So we don't have to.
it's totally okay for me to be one of the people, by the way, if that helps.
Actually, sorry. Let me pause for a second.
Mhm.
I just noticed that the number that they asked for is off by 30, it's $30.
Which,
Stone Ridge,
oh, what did they ask for?
1558.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
We can go back.
we need to go back. I mean, $30.
I'll make a motion to amend the contractual service expenditure for the Stone Ridge Library from $15,028 to $15,058.
58.
Do I have a second? Michael, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thanks, Michael. Okay. Well, I'm just. Anyone can make the motion and fill in names and then we can discuss. Or. I can be one of the people, so if that is reassuring for you guys. But it does have to be board members.
Pursuant to town law. 123, the town board appoints Supervisor Nowen and Charlotte Smeeside to meet for the purpose of examining the civil and criminal dockets of each town justice and ensure that the fines and fees that have been collected by each justice have been turned over to the proper officials as required by law.
I'll second. You wanna?
If you guys want it.
Okay.
I'm at it.
I don't think those were And one.
You appointed yourself.
I said I would do it or split it 1-1 with someone.
You're kicking me under the table already.
Not, you're lucky, man.
Do you need me to do it?
No, I was just saying. But I'll do it. It's good.
All right. I guess I'm the only assertive one here, huh? Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Michael, did you look into H? I think,
H or?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at, I.
Oh, the rail trail? No, I don't have any more details on that.
Okay.
This is for the county one.
I think so, yeah,
Let me call Mike and see.
okay, we're tabling that one again. And we need to table the next one again also, because I haven't been able to connect on that. And then we're tabling the Trails Committee one as well. Because I don't think that is an active committee. It's just been on the agendas forever. We also, I should have done these amendments, huh? We're gonna table the next one because I didn't get we were looking for feedback and I haven't been able to complete the feedback process. So that I would like to table until our workshop meeting. For sure.
That's L.
Yes.
Were we not discussing? Because you sent them out, right?
I sent them, we discussed, you had questions.
Okay.
That we were going to get clarification from the code enforcement office on. I sent those over. It's been very busy. I checked in. I said, if it's too much to get this in, let's just do it at the workshop meeting. So I didn't hear back by end of day today about that. So it's totally fine. We'll have the old fees. You know, as of February 1st, we can have a new fees schedule. There's no reason to rush it if we want to get clarification on those questions.
Yeah, I had a few more questions. Can we still send them more questions?
Yes, yeah, of course. Okay, so the next item is the authorizing the supervisor to execute the agreement with the Unicolab software. So, I'd like to make a motion that the town board authorizes the town supervisor to execute the agreement for purchase of software for the planning board from Unicolab, contingent upon acceptance of our attorney's suggestions.
Second.
Any discussion?
Um,
I know the 99.99 thing needs to stay.
I wasn't trying to bring that up, but I had some red lines I wanted to talk about too, because I think there's just some stuff in there that I agreed with everything that Mary Lou said. There was some other stuff just about being able to access our data that I think we need to make sure we're okay with. Like, there's one thing about accessing data if they're troubleshooting, but I don't want to just give them, you can access our data right without us knowing about it. And then there were a few things. So I can send you red lines if you want to send them consolidated stuff.
But then we can't, do you want it?
Well, do you want to amend
The
it to
board-
say red lines from the board and Mary Lou? I don't know if anyone else had.
So
I don't think it's major stuff.
did everyone get a chance to read Mary Lou's red line?
Really quick, yeah,
Yeah.
so the changes that she's suggesting still need to go back for discussion with them.
And if they accept them, then I can sign it. If they don't, then it comes back. But you're bringing up stuff that we haven't looked at, so that's why I'm pausing, because if we want to do that, I think we need to talk about it or look at those.
I think
Like we should state them in the
State in the resolution.
Yeah.
Can we just keep the resolution as is, and then I can talk to Mary Lou tomorrow? And have my red lines incorporated into hers, make sure she agrees with it.
I don't think we can do that,
Why not?
because we're talking about attorney suggestions that we've looked at. And you're talking about getting her to make your into hers.
Do you want me to go through my suggestions?
I mean, I think if we either table it or,
Is it gonna, if we table it to the workshop meeting, and then I can send them out to everyone
what was the expiration date on that?
on their agreement?
Yeah.
Does this affect the rollout for the software for them if we do take a little bit of time?
I mean, it probably would affect it a little bit. I had, when I talked to them, I had said I wanted to try to do it in early 2025. But let me just see. They had put a kind of a deadline in there, and if we're within that, then I'm 100% comfortable with it.
Like, what were you thinking beyond data access and security? So
I think
liability.
most of what I saw was similar to Mary Lou. The one other thing was the service level terms.
Mhm.
If they were gonna have scheduled outages, I wanted to ask them if they could notify us of the scheduled outages, because if we're gonna be using it in planning board meetings, it might make more sense if they're gonna have an outage on the night the planning board's meeting to reschedule the meeting. So I don't think that's something they won't agree to. They should. That
Yeah,
should be
normally they
standard.
have scheduled.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah,
standard
yeah.
practice. I just wanna have.
Yeah, or like, that's what scheduled implies, but you want to say it explicitly.
I don't know, I'm trying to find where they said it, if they say that it's. Yeah, I just want them to notify us.
Okay.
I mean, they can have scheduled outages, but not.
So so we're still in discussion of the motion on the table. So are your edits something that we can just list, like by section?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, the first thing, if we want to start from the beginning, in the initial service term, they say 3 years with automatic renewal. I think it should say 1 year with 2 optional years. That's part of the service term. I know there's an out clause, but I still think it should say it up front. Section 2.2, I can't remember if Mary Lou mentioned this too, but they have no obligation to monitor, but they may do so and may prohibit use of the services. So if we're gonna let them monitor what we're doing with the software, I just want the board to be aware of that. Like, we're basically saying they have the option to look at it, at our stuff whenever they want to. I don't know if there's gonna be any information that would be sensitive, but I just want to be aware that we're agreeing with that. Like to collect, analyze data and other information. I think Mary Lou mentioned that section 3.3. I think she said take out the word after, which I agree with. They should have access to it after we're using it. The fee things she also brought up the fee thing, so they put fees in there, but we haven't seen any additional fees or anything, so if there are, they should make it explicit. I think the termination is fine. And then the last thing was the notification for having a that was what I wanted, a period where they notify us like 24 hours in advance.
okay, so what section is that?
That was exhibit B. And also the last thing in exhibit C, I don't know what.
Hold on, Michael. So exhibit B. Everything else, there's the 1 year thing, everything else was Mary Lou.
Mhm.
So exhibit B, add 24-hour notification.
I think we just add a separate bullet that, I mean, I think 48 or 72 hours. Like a lot of times companies will schedule these off hours. So if we have a planning board meeting and they need access to the software, I don't want it to conflict with a time when they're doing maintenance. So if they could notify us or provide us a schedule ahead of time of when their maintenance is gonna be. Because I don't want to let the planning board to lose access to the software like mid-meeting.
Okay, I totally understand
72
your,
hours notice.
oh, okay, so we'll add a bullet that says,
Unicolab will provide 72 hours notice prior to any scheduled maintenance outage. As well as the duration, as well as the anticipated duration. They're expecting a 4-hour outage on a Monday at 6:30.
great, thank you. Okay, so then you said exhibit C.
I just don't know what the last comment means. Customer will be responsible for responding to technical support inquiries made by.
That, so the public has access to the view and they don't want to be the ones responsible for troubleshooting.
Okay.
So
So we're saying if the public has an issue.
if they're like, don't know how to find something or create an account
Okay.
or something like that, we will be the ones responsible for answering those calls.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so if Charlotte, I feel like we don't need to put your first edit in just because we have that clause.
Do you want me to push back? That's fine. I agree. I don't think they're gonna hold us to it, but
What do I get to push back?
I mean, it's saying it's a 3-year agreement.
Alexis, do you have an opinion?
I mean, I think that. So, I mean, what,
We
You
can
agree with Aaron,
exit,
it's fine.
we can
I want the
exit
person.
in the first year.
Okay.
But once we've completed the first year, it basically
yeah, they're not known for like violating contracts left and right, like it's a pretty.
it's a
good
new company,
It's a new
but
company.
yeah.
Okay. So, all right, I mean, I'm comfortable with that because, you know, it's not, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not a life-saving, changing amount of money, so. That's. All right, I'll agree with Aaron.
We can wait
Is
for
it a little
Charlotte.
bit granular?
I'm fine.
All right.
Leave it alone.
Well, it's essentially the same thing. But you like it to be,
It's a contract. It doesn't say what we're. So it haven't said what we're. If, so we're saying we're good with a 3-year contract. And that we can exit anytime within the first year.
so yeah, I would just, then we're just. Your exhibit B addition on top of Mary Lou's.
Yes.
This is Mary Lou.
It's been going so fast. So it's been-
Oh, okay, so are you
That's why.
clear?
Slow things down.
Yeah. Michael's like, pump the brakes, we're gonna get to that second. So are you clear on what the?
Yeah.
So. I'll just restate, we have a motion on the table to authorize the town supervisor to execute the agreement for purchase of software for planning board use from Unicolab contingent upon acceptance of our attorney suggestions and the addition of the language adding to as exhibit B that Unicolab will provide 72 hours notice of scheduled maintenance outage as well as the duration. Okay, So can we
Second.
vote? Well, no, I wasn't making a motion. I was just repeating back what we're voting on to make sure.
So we can vote on the.
So can we vote on the amended resolution? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Next motion, Michael, do you want to make this one? You can just wing it, I think.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to extend a contract to Marbletown First Aid Squad for providing services in the High Falls Ambulance Improvement District for 2025. It's presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, wow. Moving on from our resolution portion to our discussion portion. These are now the town board workshop items, so some of this is presentation, some of this is discussion. It's possible there could be a resolution, though I don't think we're planning on that tonight. So I've split this between old business and new business again, except I switched the order. Because I think in my mind, if we're carrying over old business into a discussion, it's typically a higher priority just so that we can close things out. So for old business, I wanted to put this on for a discussion item, the contract with, for the Rochester Ambulance District. I circulated a draft that I made some very slight modifications to our prior contracts that we've had. Did the board have a chance to look at those or notice how I updated that contract? I basically put in a payment schedule chart because we now are talking about like 5 payments, or we could amend it to be 4 and have the 4th be bigger. And then are you guys looking at that? Oh, you don't. And then I also put in a report chart that we're just asking that the 2 things be more linked in the contract.
Yeah, the only thing we should change is the date for the first report was yesterday, so we should just see if we want to push that to,
Yeah,
I haven't seen a report.
right.
I don't know if we want to give them until the 23rd for that first report or.
Yeah, okay. So I'm opening up the draft. I can make the changes directly. And then I guess we could put on. Okay. So,
Mary had to comment.
yeah, do you guys so I guess heard what you just said. Can we just back up? Do we like the idea of doing 5 payments or do we do 4 payments?
I think we can do 4 and then just do like an, asterisk notation that the total for 2024's contract portion that's in that one payment. I don't think that. Why make more people?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
what's less annoying for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
easier for you guys.
that's what I had
think that's the
okay.
That's better.
And you guys are okay with the timing of that coming in October?
Yeah, I would pull it left. You're saying move the December payment.
Yeah. Is that what pull it left means?
Pull it left.
I've never heard that before. Okay, I'm gonna,
Pull it left. On the calendar. Got all kinds of jargon.
okay.
Circle back.
$48,667.5 plus 47,250. So $95,917.50.
Yes.
Was anybody else doing that?
I'll double check.
My head.
Okay.
What do we think on that first date?
I think you're right. I think that what we should do maybe is put that first payment at February 1st. And then so basically, I'm trying to time these around our board meetings. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Trying to time them around board meetings and giving the advisory committee time, like 2 weeks, to look at the report. Make sure. And then that triggers the payment. So, we could put in our the February meeting date, and then 2 weeks before that for the report deadline. Does that work? Okay. That's February 13th. And then that would be, I guess we could have a workshop meeting be the deadline. So that we have a meeting, receive the report before a meeting.
Is that the 23rd?
We can definitely. So the 22nd, we would do January 22nd, the day before. Does that work? So we're moving at 2 weeks, basically. Okay. And then there's no 5th, so the one thing that I just wanted to. So what we've done is we've changed the contract so that first payment is February 13th, the first reporting deadline is January 22nd. We've consolidated from 5 payments to 4. So I don't need to change the 4 versus 5 that Mary Lou noticed. So it's just 4 payments. One thing I wanted to flag is one of the comments we've gotten from our advisory committee is to require like a board seat. And I think we were feeling like that. We'd gotten counsel that we probably couldn't do that. So I didn't put that in. I wasn't sure if there was any other language you guys wanted to add in, but I feel like we made some good progress towards having
Yeah, I think we made some progress with better communication also. I think that if we leave it out for this year, and then it can be re-explored for, if we have the same issues, we have it being re-explored, but with council saying we shouldn't try that probably would not hold up for the most part. I don't think that we need that. I also find it to be a little bit of an overreach myself.
I wonder if there's a way we could acknowledge the advisory committee. In the contract that I could say something like, well, we're called the town. I just wonder if we should after 11 and 12 or after 10 and 11, 9, 10 and 11, we could add a new 12 that said that something about our designees or our advisory. What do you guys think? I don't know.
I mean, I don't like the idea of using the word designee because they're not authorized.
You're
to
right.
act on behalf of the town.
Mhm.
We could say said payment is made in consideration of KVAS providing contracted ambulance service for stated term and upon fulfilling the requirement of delivering the following reports to the town's ambulance improvement committee, advisory committee. If we want to include it, we can, there. Right, I mean, I think it's fine to not include that and then we specify by email, like this is the expectation. You provide the reports to this person, because we don't have a chair currently.
Yeah, we had agreed it would go to me and then I would send it on, but I'm happy to
Yeah.
redo that, so. Okay, so
think
if you
it's a
guys
good idea.
feel comfortable with it as it is, I'm
I-
okay with not complicating it, but,
And one very small thing.
oh, yeah.
Draw the meeting. We say to December 31st, and it should really be through December 31st.
Oh, thank you.
It says it in one, but then somewhere else it says two.
In 12. I was looking at it right when you said it. Thanks.
Are you saying it's not my catch?
It's 100% your catch. You
I didn't know.
a much more, I don't, those things. Oh, in 2, also in 2. So it says it's had it in 2 and in 12.
I saw that.
Okay. I think that's the only, those are the only 2 places.
Should we don't have to put it in the contract, but I'm like trying to think of how to get like a happy medium with that for the housing committee and KFAS. And I'm wondering, instead of us trying to have a seat on, have someone connected to their board, what if we ask them to appoint a liaison from their board to the ambulance advisory committee? You know, that their board, that KFAS's board will have, so that there's someone who's in direct communication with them. I don't know if the contract's the right place to put that, but like, you know, instead of us trying to, because I think that's where like the conflict and the, you know, the gray area that council advised us on with us requesting a seat on their board of trustees, but if we're requesting a liaison to our committee that's advising us for them. Might be a more tangible.
We could, I just don't, I mean, it was kind of set up that way. Anyway, and it still wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we could put it in.
No, yeah, we can leave it out for now, and just be thought type of thing, like we can,
Yeah, because I think the
Like, yeah.
expectation is. If the committee wants to meet with them, they should want to meet.
I'm sorry, I'm brand new. Could anybody give me like a 2-sentence summary of what?
Oh, well, I could, not a 2-sentence summary,
Okay.
but, 2
We
years
had-
ago, we set up ambulance improvement districts.
Right.
They're taxing districts in town. They allow us to collect tax dollars to provide EMS services to the community. The town doesn't actually control EMS services, we contract with them.
Right.
Like, we have contracts with other people. So we've collected money, we have 2 districts that we cover in town. One is called the High Falls District, which is pretty much close to Marbletown, and then the rest is the remainder of the town of Rochester. And so we have 2 contracts. We have a committee that's supposed to advise our board that's got subject matter experts in EMS.
Okay.
And so they're supposed to liaise with the ambulance service, the EMS service providers. Get a budget from them, say, this is what you're asking for to provide services this year, and then give us their perspective on whether or not it makes sense, we should ask for adjustments.
But they don't directly control.
Right, we have no,
Operation.
right, they're independent nonprofit organizations. So, one of the requirements we have, because we're collecting tax dollars, is that quarterly, they're supposed to provide us with details on their response rate to
The ambulance
calls
call, yeah.
and then their financials. In years past, since this is a new process, the reports haven't always been coming at the frequency we've needed them. So we've been meeting with our advisory committee. They had some recommendations. So we're trying to figure out how to set this up for 2025. So it's more
Got
streamlined,
it.
which is why we're trying to figure out if we need to include more stuff in the contract to kind of bind them.
To give us some teeth. Okay,
Right.
thank you, Michael.
Sorry. Longer than 2. Anyone else?
Well, there's good summary. not. Yeah, I also, my only, other concern with adding verbiage like that into PayFast's contract, or even like like what you were trying to do is not doing it in Marbletown's, like with recognizing the advisory committee somewhere in the contract. I would want to put it in both if we do it, especially if it's something like that's like kind of blanket and generic like
Mhm.
that, so. I think we can table that, but I'm happy to vote as is.
So you guys
For you guys,
you wanna extend it
Then,
as with the changes that we just made and see what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel I went back and I looked at the comments we'd gotten from the ambulance improvement district budget advisory committee, and they had given us 2024 and 2025 contract recommendations. Do we feel like we have consulted them on this contract thoroughly, or should we punt this to them, have them advise us and then do that, or? I went back and I looked at, I thought that they had said, this is, this is what should, make sure you have this. And the two things were this, the payment and
yes.
the
other thing-
seat,
the seat,
but
can't
I
do
just
it.
wanted to do a gut check, because I didn't want.
Yeah, so I mean, this has to go, you're gonna extend this to KFAS, it has to go under review again with. Their lawyer, right?
Yeah,
Mary-
they
we don't
might
have to
come
have
back.
Mary Lou review it again.
No, she's already completed.
Or if they accept it, then we can all sign it and it's done. But if they don't, this is just,
they saw this copy with the changes with the 5 payments.
No, we haven't.
I haven't sent it. But this is what we agreed, this schedule is what we agreed upon.
Mhm.
Verbally,
Yes, yeah, in the meeting, it's all weird.
but the advisory committee has not seen this contract, I just took. Their recommendations that they had issued.
I say, we just add with circulation to the advisory committee, let them know that this is the contract we're offering with the edits that the board came to after their comments, after our own discussions, and say this is the contract. Cause that we did.
So
most of the
notify.
changes. Yeah, I would notify them, just, I think that was one of the biggest things that came out of the meeting me and you went to, that. There was a weird, like, how the communication, like the flow of communication was supposed to go, wasn't always there, from when the committee was established, so I think just. As much as we can do right now till we get it more sorted would be better, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I'd rather just send it to them than to have one of them FOIL request it next week,
Sure, so we're gonna vote to extend this to Kerhonk's and Accord First Aid Squad. And then I'll also circulate this to the advisory committee as a. Here's what we did.
Yeah, I think just as an update, I like what I was hearing with the communication thing was not that. They felt unheard as a committee, that they just didn't. Feel like they knew when things were resolved or came to something, so I think that if we just are like, hey, here's an update, we extended the contract, the board voted to extend it. Here
Yeah.
it is for you guys to have,
Okay,
I think would be. The nicest, simplest. Way to do it,
okay,
Yeah,
because there's not much changes besides that. Like, there was barely any, just mostly grammatical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
okay.
yeah, I think the most important thing that's been communicated is. We're not going to be issuing payments unless we get these reports, unless the committee has the reports, so,
And that, you feel like that's clear?
and it's clear.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, and I like the charts, I think that makes it very. Also, I like. They pop out more of a page to like, and they can also kind of just like copy.
one thing that had been brought up a lot is like, is there any other service provider that you have this structure with? And with the reval that we're doing, we definitely have like a chart, a payment chart and deliverables there. So I was like, oh, that chart is so much easier for me as the person preparing the vouchers. I mean, they send us invoices, but that's what we use so that's that inspired me to put those in there, because I was like, it is so much easier. So,
Yeah, I think it'll be much more helpful and clear for them
Yeah.
too.
okay, great. So does anyone wanna make that resolution?
Again, I'm messed
I
up again.
mean. You go.
I can do it. I'd like to make a motion, authorize the supervisor to extend the contract to the Clemson Ackford First Aid Squad for providing EMS services. This should really read like the Marbletown one. So I don't know if I'm doing it correctly. For the Rochester Ambulance Improvement District for the year 2025 as presented
And
And
edited.
And
and amended.
Okay.
That's it. It's a motion.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. I wanted to get your consent, the board's consent. So we budgeted for a town planner staff position.
Can I just pause you a second? We were supposed to put the town board vacancies first, weren't we?
On new business.
Oh, on the new one, sorry. You're right, I wrote it in the wrong spot.
So that, we budgeted for that, we funded it, but that would be a staff position. I would like the boards, I would like you to, I'd like to get your buy-in. What I'd like to do is have a meeting with our consultant who we appointed. And draw up a draft service agreement to see what he could provide for the sum that we budgeted. That would be less hours, but I think he has been working with the planning board and the staff, and I think is willing to take that on. So I wanted to see how you guys felt about that, and I wouldn't obviously make any decisions because it would be a budget modification and a service agreement that you'd have to vote on, but I just wanted to get the feel, if you guys were okay with me doing that and then presenting it at the soonest meeting.
Did we get any input on who we're picking for town planner? You already have,
We appointed him last week.
okay.
So it's the consultant that works and attends planning board meetings, Dave Church.
Dave.
So you're thinking this would be structured as like a time and material, so submits hours, not fixed.
Well, I wanted to see what he was like thinking in terms of that, yeah, cause like. I think there's we could do it this. And anything after this is subject to this fee. Or we could do a sort of like. Working X amount of hours per month. Not to exceed, and then the thing that I'm most interested in is carving out some time that is not exclusive for the planning board. So that we can have him review, he does review, we kind of pay for it anyway, but when we do referrals. Occasionally, they've had him review those and then help build comment, but I don't think that's an official process, so if we were to do this, we could get him to help us in the draft stage, for example. So I would want to have some hours budgeted for town board, like legislative acts when it comes to planning and zoning.
And then we don't have to refer to the planning board.
No, you still have to refer to the planning board. We have to, but,
He's already seen.
yeah,
So is the idea kind of to front load his input in rather than being reactive as things roll out?
I would like that.
Yeah.
But then also just have it be, there's other things like. Liaising between, so you can have a staff planning position where the person like works for the town, attends planning board meetings. And just like everything else, they don't have, like, the thing is though, the planning board doesn't have to listen to anything that the town planner says. Now, they have a great relationship, so, hopefully that wouldn't happen. But to have someone who we could also could attend a meeting with us or do work with us, or I would say, this is what we'd like to do, could you draft this for us? And so I think that would be a great opportunity. Then I also, again, I'm gonna talk to him and see what he thinks, because he also has quite a bit of experience working with municipalities and might have some suggestions for us.
And he's already pretty familiar with our code.
Yes, he's been working with the planning board for a year now
Okay.
and did a whole run through of the new code ahead of, like, once it, and has been working to prepare the planning board for all of the changes. So we've had I know that he's been studying it. So the other thing that I think would be helpful is to have a regular monthly meeting with the code enforcement office, so he could say, here's the decisions that have been made, these are the conditions, and like have a staff meeting where it's like, he's obviously not directing code enforcement, but I think having that proactive communication about that could help both.
And we would have access to that work product as well.
We always have access to the decisions, they're public documents.
I mean, like his discussion and of like the town planner's discussion of those decisions through code enforcement.
What do you mean we would have access to that?
Like,
Like you want
we
them
would-
to record it?
No, I just mean we would know what was going on in those meetings.
I mean, there's lots of meetings that happen in departments, so I'm not sure how we would. I think the best way to know what's happening in those meetings is to watch planning board meetings. And then he would be taking the decisions that they've made.
So these are not extra to the planning board meetings. These are not extra meetings that are happening with.
No, what I'm explaining is I think it could be useful to have a staff member or in this case, it would be a consultant who is like liaising in a way, I guess, but just saying like, here's the decisions we've made, walk through them, because we don't have code enforcement attend planning board meetings.
Okay. Right.
So I think it would be, I don't know how we would be monitoring those meetings. By making the appointments, I think we would just be trusting that it's going the way it should. Was there something,
I mean, I just kind of want to make sure that we kind of have an understanding about what's happening in meetings that are not, public. Right?
the town board?
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's. Besides us, the ZBA and the planning board, all other committees and departments aren't required. And to have public, well, they have to be accessible to the public, some of the commissions, but they're not required to have like open meetings, and things like that. So that's what you're.
She's just kind of looking for like an outline of what the discussion was between the two and for the board to be involved, a part of it. So if like after they have their meeting, if that someone could send to the board a little bit of like a review of what they discussed.
Yes, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm pretty sick, so.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of us clarifying those positions, because I think Aaron's point is, there are meetings that happen within town departments all the time. And they're not taking minutes or anything. If there's something major where the planner is talking to the building department about a significant project, then I think we as the board just need to say, hey, if there are discussions about that, we'd like to participate or just know what was happening, what happened, because they can't report on every discussion that they have, but if there's something that's major,
Right.
we can always ask. It's the same, to me, it's kind of like how we work with Mary Lou. Any of us can call Mary Lou and have a conversation if we have a question about something.
So, yeah, also what I was bringing up, I guess, specifically was that a public decision that's made in public and as an official record, instead of having the planning board chair go through decisions, I think to me, it would be nice to take that, out, expectation off of a volunteer position and have someone who could do that potentially, that we're paying, who has the expertise. They wouldn't be making any decisions or offering directives
No, of
or
course not.
interpretation.
Right,
It
but
would
if we
just-
have this position, you know, like,
Yeah.
what percentage of their time is, you know, I don't say like us versus them, like, obviously, we're supposed to be one entity, but, you know, one of the things that I would like to see out of this position is create like, you know, a philosophical, you know, plan about how, we, like I said, to be proactive instead of reactive when we're making new code or going through the code. So just having everything kind of on one page is important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would definitely be those type. I think that's one of the reasons why I want this to not just be the planning board consultant
Yeah.
for it to be a bigger role.
I'm not saying like I want to spy on everybody's meetings, I just want everybody to be kind of on the same.
Yeah, and so what the follow-up point I was gonna make is typically when we're on a billing. What we would get, what the town board has access to from a consultant is, we get a report. With if it's a monthly invoice, just like you haven't seen them yet. But it says, this is the day of the meeting, this is who I met with, this is the subject, so would be included. But if we wanted more, we'd have to see like what was possible within like more of a report, we would wanna. See what was possible within the time that we were contracting for. That was the follow-up thought that I was.
Yes.
That you do get that topical, like, because we're paying for those
Right.
services.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for you to have discussions with the particular. Exactly what we can look up with what we can get out of the position and how much we have budgeted. So,
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
great.
Yes.
Yes, and everything will go before you guys and have your input. So, I think you can also send me ideas for what you're thinking, and that way I can talk to Dave about them, but yes. Town plans, town documents, recommendations, we obviously have to ask, like, you know, we have to say, this is what we're looking for. And then some of those interdepartmental just sort of connections. And then still have the presence for the planning board, and then some additional budgeted hours for planning board administration. So drafting decisions and review, you know, that sort of thing that we're currently was not part of the budget. Before. Okay. I put this as old business because this was the ongoing, Charlotte, the housing site, you've been.
Yes,
So-
we've been doing this.
Okay, great. So did you say you had a presentation?
Yeah, so I forwarded you the PowerPoint that they hacked me for us. We aren't gonna go through the whole thing. I mostly just want to show you guys a couple slides from it, just to
Do you
kind
want
of help
me to,
explain the process and the determining.
do you want me to get it up, try to
Yeah,
get it up?
I just forwarded you the. With it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's.
Did you send it to all of us?
Hmm?
Did you send it to all of us?
No. I can't. But it's gonna be ours anyway. It's part of our docket, whatever, file that like that.
Hmm?
Did you get the? full-
I just have to get it, so that. I can, pull it up on this computer.
Oh, gotcha, because you can't share.
I mean, I could join the Zoom.
Oh, I forgot you don't share. Like. From December 10th.
Yes.
What was it, Town of Rochester channel?
help.
Gamal.
Huh?
Gamal.
Come on.
I think an I. In Gmail.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yes, I saw it. Very dense over here. Okay.
Should be. Wondering.
We got it.
Oh, there. All right, go. There. Right.
You know what,
Yeah, they sent it to me as a PDF, not a PowerPoint, so.
no, it just opened it not as a PDF, but.
No. All right, that's fine. We're only looking at 2 pictures.
Okay, well then I'm gonna close that and just do
Yeah.
this.
All right, so.
Oh, hold on, now I'm going to.
Cheers.
You could close it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm both chairing and tech supporting, so.
Do you want me to do it?
Like, that's part of it.
Yes.
What is it? What one?
That's how very close.
You can take it.
Terrible people.
Tell us how you really feel.
Google track it.
Everybody else is too.
Go to the next one, this thing.
You have. No.
Change document.
You have to
Michael.
scroll, it's just just scroll,
It's not scroll. Oh, up is down, down is up.
yes. That's not a Google,
You're gonna go down. So
that's just that keyboard.
Which one?
great, the one with that map and. Little tenant.
Yes. But that's not right. That's not what you said, that's right.
That's something you need to learn. I thought the
It's
other-
Lucas and 209, isn't it?
No, I'm giving you guys the whole bag, so you guys can know, since it's public, the process it went through. To get to down to those 3, that's.
I will
Got
say that,
Right, so.
but I need to try it.
All right, so, for the past 3, I think approximately 3 months, maybe a little bit more, the housing committee and HAC, have been, which is Housing Action Council, who we contracted with county funding to do a housing site inventory in town. On On Heritage Day, I took me and Lana, one of the members of the housing committee, took our 2 consultants. While they were here and doing the survey table in town, we took them on a 2-hour-long drive tour around town. And covered most of, from like Medicahonts to the left of town, without minus Queens Highway, trying to get to as much as we could, for potential housing sites or areas in town where, me, myself, or Alana, or the housing committee had said for potential housing sites or where we thought development might be able to occur. So after that drive and all of the feedback from, the information we gave them from that, and then also from, their first initial meetings with the housing committee, along with another meeting that they had with Kai and Dennis from the county separately also, they came up with, they realized that our whole town, we can't, for the scope of work, we cannot get the entire town done for housing site inventory parcel by parcel. It's way too large, it's way too big of the scope for how much money the contract is. So we have to narrow it down to 2 corridors, is what came out of all of that work. And then from that came, the 1, 2, 3, 4. The 8 corridors you see before you highlighted, in different parts of town, as sections for us to choose from. And then each of these highlighted areas, were then evaluated by Tiffany and Kevin, on a really black and white scale of things, looking at our zoning code, looking at parcel viewer for different like environmental or agricultural overlay districts and things like that and factors. They came up with a chart that Michael, if you would scroll down to, there's gonna be another map, like 6 pages down from that, and then a chart with check marks.
This one with the districts or?
No, keep going, we're looking for a spreadsheet at the bottom, there it is. So
This or the map?
that right there, the spreadsheet. So this is the T, as we were calling it, that we got then for town, based off the different factors that they looked at for us, which was locational advantage. To like the main highway 209, obviously, we're very rural out here, is our only major road. Opportunity sites, like how many available, existing building forms, zoning compatibility with our newer zoning code is what they looked at when they, I believe they looked at it with both. I have to confirm, I know the map, one of the maps that they had looked at was wrong in the old rendition, but I believe that the actual code when they made this was what was being presented and voted on, because we had not approved them yet at that time. But so the zoning compatibility, agricultural constraints, and then environmental constraints. So if you see like a check mark in green means yes, that corridor on the left-hand side has those in that corridor. So going based off of this information, trying to narrow it down to 2 corridors from an original 8, was hard. So it came down to 209 Whitfield, Queens Highway, Sampsonville, and Lucas is like the final 5 that things were going back and forth between, from the housing committee, and then also what I had pulled from multiple previous renditions of board, I guess. And nothing lined up correctly with everyone, a majority from either group except for Queens Highway to look at. So I went back to HAC and I asked if there was a possible way, because Lucas and 209 were very similar, if we could get, if 209 and Lucas as like a triangle, the roads down to Kaiser, I guess an end being a triangle as one corridor, was a potential for one corridor to kind of get 209 and Lucas, because it was there was a bit of a back and forth at one point in the meeting of them being semi-similar for what pros and cons there were for both areas. Which we can use that as a corridor. So now the decision has come down to Sampsonville, Queens, or the Lucas 209 corridor. Since there was not a consensus on anywhere between the housing committee, our board, from when I've talked to individual board members, or even from the county, for where they wanted us to be looking for the housing sites, in town in the areas. There was a consensus, and I didn't want to be the one to be the decider of which committee or which authority was gonna have the ruling voice, so I brought it before us to try to see which ones we'd like to do, so that's going, can you just go back up to that first map? Thank you, Anna. So it would be, so our choices are Sampsonville, Queens Highway, and then it is like this B that goes a little bit past Old Kings Highway there around. That's like a very not straight sided triangle.
Kaiser.
Yeah, down to Kaiserreich and then back, so it almost like literally, like if you did a loop down Lucas, down to Kaiserreich, back down 209 to the point where Lucas is, everything in between the two roads you just rode on both sides.
So can I ask a couple of questions? One, the ask is to choose 2 out of 3.
2 out of the 3,
Okay.
yes, yeah, that we've we've narrowed it down to 3, we're not going back to
Okay,
8.
okay. Can you refresh us, or if you have any further clarification on what's the end product that will come out of this selection?
Sure, so, the end product, so there's a couple of things.
Do you want me to scroll again?
No, you don't have to scroll, I just wanna pull up the actual like list of deliverables to make sure I don't misquote you guys. But I know, so. At least in process wise, while I pull this up, I know this is the first step of the deeper dive into those actual areas where it's going to like identify specific sites that are mark all of those boxes on the charts, for being good for housing development. There are also.
So there would be like an inventory list of
Yes,
like,
there will be like an inventory, like, so say they go. And do an inventory of. I'm just gonna use Samsonville because I have one of the parcels like in my brain right now. So say Samsonville is one of the corridors we picked and they go and they do the housing site inventory and. They break it down into categories, of the different types of housing, like whether it's rehab, whether it's brand new apartment, like multifamily, like large scale, apartment housing, senior, like Kalaka Village, I think instantly would go on that list as a potential housing site. It already has existing foundation, there's things that check the box. So let me just make sure.
If downtown Elkridge checks all the boxes, why is it not? It actually does.
It was partially in consideration. One of those boxes, I forgot to say that when we were looking at it, one of those boxes was mischecked, because. Yes, environmental should not have been a red X because there's no municipal water, and there's no more water for the most part on Main Street here to draw from.
But nobody has municipal water,
No, we don't have municipal water or anything.
so that should be like just a non-question, right?
Yeah,
That's like
kind
not
of
a
just like,
factor.
yeah, it's, if there's no water, that you can't meet health department, health code, or
The
anything
problem
else.
is the density too with septic,
Mhm,
well water.
yes,
Bedrock is very high there, so it's.
for new development.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for,
for
and for like multifamily housing. Things like that.
Where you have to have approved. Your water has to meet the health department. For a public. And it doesn't, you wouldn't be able to do that there. Here.
Here.
Was there another box that shouldn't have been checked, or was that the only one?
I think that was the only one on that one, right? And then the other one was on 209, they had agriculture like checked off as if it wasn't an issue on 209, because when they first looked at the map and made it, it was
That one had an X on it.
that one have an X on
I
it,
saw
or they
that.
might change it, there was, yeah, that.
I saw that.
They had first looked with only the county ag district. on the map
Oh, and not our soils.
ours, so there was one of them that they didn't have like ag on it first, and I was like, that's 'cause it's probably not on the county, like.
You could, multifamily's allowed in business, right? It's allowed to.
Yes, yes. So,
Right, when I
the-
was at the bottom.
is there also a code component?
Yes,
Okay.
so my goal, and my hope for the end all of this, unlike what was explained by, in previous meetings when we first got the, RFP for this from the county, this is not gonna be like a whole town listing of every pro for every site of like an yes or no, small, single family for every single parcel. My hope to get out of this is a tool for us to use to be able to relook at all of our zoning code again and re-review. They are gonna be reviewing our zoning code within all of, at least in the 2 corridors deeply, like what's zoned there. But in a larger area. So I'm just trying to find, so, after this step, once the 2 areas are selected, they evaluate, so, sorry, I'm just trying to read this from before they read the 2. So they're gonna evaluate and prioritize opportunity areas based on exponential potential to meet housing needs, scale of impact, market demand, fiscal and economic impacts, equity impacts, and environmental impacts. And then they'll prioritize candidate bases in those corridors based upon site control zoning, build out potential, infrastructure capacity, and site constraints. And then after that, the next step is that they interview property owners and developers in those corridors for us to try to promote housing, to see if there's a housing site to see if like an owner's interested in selling it to potentially have it for housing. The other deliverable we get from this scope of work is we also get to pick 2 housing sites that they will conduct a housing design workshop for, identify regulatory changes that we could potentially make on those 2 property sites to make them more pro-housing. And propose infrastructure improvements on them if they're existing, like pre-existing buildings already. Identify preliminary design principles, and potential development partners. And inventory potential funding sources and prepare solicitation strategy for us.
So that's my question. There's a lot of money for downtown revitalization. I'm just kind of curious, we're talking about increasing density, housing density in these zones, right? So I'm just trying to figure out why we're still discarding downtown Ackworth.
So that was eliminated through like the multi-step process that got us to here, from the 8 originally down to the 3, with like that was 8 down to 4, and then 2 of them got combined, pretty much. Downtown Ackworth, it's also, if you look at the map, for the most bang for our buck out of this housing site inventory, downtown Ackworth's about a mile long. Opposed to all of these other like tentacles, as we've been calling them, that are multiple miles worth of inventory and review for sites, and ones that are more according to that list to that original spot pro housing that downtown Ackworth was. Yeah.
What are the 3 again? It's the Sampsonville.
Sampsonville, Queens Highway, and then the Lucas 209 triangle to Kaiserite.
But we're not including any of that Route 209 near Sampsonville.
No, correct. Yeah, that's that was where this focus. That was where the corridor was like listed as per requested by the county. But upon when we were looking at reviewing and seeing it, the housing committee, like there's multiple like individual spots along 209. And then can I like?
Yeah, Alana, if you wanna join us at the
One
table, you
other-
can too.
There's one other criteria that was taken into account with eliminating downtown Accord is that they advise the minimum lot size being 3 acres for any sort of viable development, and there are very few sites in downtown Accord that have that are not ag land.
Oh,
property,
right.
And that are not on bedrock, and so that was another reason. So in trying to narrow down which of these corridors amongst our committee anyway, were the most enticing. We kind of did our own little like cursory inventory of potential sites, privately owned, on the market for sale. Publicly owned, which we of course know is very few. And like Kalaka Village is one example. Like, okay, there's a forlorn site that has pre-existing structures that could, potential infrastructure, septic, et cetera, that could be utilized. And, so as one, so that's on Sampsonville, and I'm like, oh, the other one's on Sampsonville, and then we came up with, ones that might be considered, and then like kind of collated them, and I think that, and looked at the criteria that was provided by the consultants to consider. I had personally ruled out Queens Highway in my head, like off the bat, and then when I read what they said about it and some of the other arguments put forth by other committee members, I was like, yeah, like it could work. So we all voted, and as a committee, we landed at our two preferred ones, but then Sampsonville is still in discussion, which is fine.
What was your other one?
The triangle.
Oh, the triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to Alexis's point, one thought that I had about Sampsonville is it is close to the downtown Cohonson, and it's part of the Cohonson Hamlet. And we just extended the Cohonson Hamlet up onto Sampsonville. So I just, in terms of like, and it's not as constrained as the other hamlet. So that was just something what you made me think of with Sampsonville having. We just did all that rezoning where we pulled more
Yeah,
hamlet.
the corner down to 2.
And we had talked about. The board has talked about creating more of a hamlet downtown sort of area because that whole area is hamlet. Also.
And could potentially happen with water.
It's close. I mean, we've always talked about that. Cause it's right across from public water and sewer.
Does the Queens section,
But I don't know if that's possible. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but we have talked about creating that. There's a brownfield site nearby too. So anyway, that area has been discussed for some of these. In terms of if there's funding available for revitalization.
does the Queens section stop where it splits with Cedar, or does it go all the way up to like?
I mean, they highlighted, that's before Cedar, right?
Yeah, because it stops before Rochester Center Road.
What the part that was compelling for me personally was the part from 209, like the first mile or two, that's flat and resident, very not a lot of pre-existing structures. As a counterpoint to building maybe on Simpsonville or parts of, just a sidebar, I was interested in the Burn Road because of conversations that have been had with Granite Hotel.
Yes.
And we were told that we can add other properties into the conversation, not on the corridors, which I'm not fully understanding how.
Well, we
that
should just
is,
see if we can just add that one.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's that the 2 sites that we pick for them to do that design and like do the environmental and pre-work on, like the 2 sites that we want done, those don't have to be in these 2 corridors. So like we can still pick the Granite, like say the Granite Hotel as a site to do as one of the like deeper dive design with community meetings. And not have that be one of the corridors that we've picked for the more deeper zoning review. So that's how we.
So the Town of Rochester Housing Advisory Committee narrowed it down to Queens Highway and the
And the
V.
triangle, yes.
Ulster County Planning Department weighed in.
They only originally, when they had a meeting, without, anyone from our town, with our consultants, and they were only interested in Sampsonville. From Sampsonville down to the end of our town where it goes to Warson
Okay,
to be explored. And that from there to pretty much what's highlighted, 209, like, but they were most interested right on the corner of Sampsonville, but, I believe the site they were interested in is the, industrial one, so I don't know how that's gonna work, for the county, but, and I told the housing consultant, I was like, I think if that's the one you're talking, that this is the right parcel that they've identified, that's industrial, and there's no residential allowed there, so.
I mean, Queens is. I hear what you're saying, but it's kind of dense up to Rochester Center Road, like that's like, it goes through one of our R1 districts, which is dense. There's a mine up there. And then there's some more density closer to 209, so. I mean, I think I said Sampsonville. Was that my original vote?
So the consensus amongst us.
I mean, I feel
throughout
fanciful
all of
now.
the chats and me trying to get it narrowed down was, we were at Sampsonville Queens Highway,
That's what I said, I'm
In-
taking away Queens Highway.
December, out of the three at the beginning of December. With the housing committee being the Triangle and Queens Highway. So that's why I was like, well, and then the county was 209, but on the other side of town.
And I just want to think about the Queens versus Sampsonville amongst the committee, is that 3 of the 5 committee members were, they said, look, that we think I think Queens, but, you know, if anyone has a really strong, really partial to Sampsonville, you know, they're like, I wouldn't be opposed. So 3 of them said that. I originally was on Sampsonville and then I swapped. So if you guys feel very strongly about Sampsonville, I don't think there's gonna be like discord on the committee about that. So just FYI.
Yeah, and my original concern about 209 was more the section. That's all ag,
Yes, it's not highlighted.
but the section up by Lucas, I mean, some of the southern part of Lucas is probably prime soil. But we also have a lot of subdivisions that have got.
Yes,
already.
yeah, and that was my point why I wanted Lucas added to the corridor, even though we didn't get to tour it on that tour we did. We actually really didn't go anywhere to the right of the downtown Accord area, just because I hadn't thought, like, the main areas we had all discussed were really on the other side of town, for the most part, but then me having lived on the far side of town on Kaiserreich, driving around, the more and more I was looking on Lucas and on Old Kings and on Rest Plaza and all these little side streets that we have, that there's so much room for development in areas that there's already residential development, but that there's just, and it's not even like parcels that are farmland or were farmland, like there's tons of wooded parcels that just need to be cleared that could potentially be developed, like between, and also off of 209 into that part of that, like triangle into like the inner area of it, so.
Old Kings is not included though.
It's
They're included
the
that.
meat of that whole triangle.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, that's.
Is included, everything, the side streets in between, each two.
Okay. So do we want to go around the table? Do you guys feel like you have what you need in order to like say what you think our selection should be? Are there more questions?
I guess I have one more. I don't know, idea that I could maybe talk hack into to get the best of both worlds for it, and I'm wondering. What if we saw if the other corridor that was Sampsonville could wrap around to this downtown corner included in it, you know what I mean, so that we get. That corner that we've started to rezone some that wraps around, and also where the county wanted to see. And then up Sampsonville, because I share the same opinion where like Queens and Sampsonville are kind of. It's almost like this, it's different pros and cons, but similar ones, like the same number of them for me to. I would be fine with either personally is. my opinion of Sampsonville or Queens, but I am just wondering if we would want to see if I can get that corner. They would probably include that corner of 209 if we wanted to get like kind of both ends of 209 then and Sampsonville and Lucas. To kind of have the edge of town.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree Simpsonville. I mean, tapping into the water might be a pipe dream, haha, I made a joke. But
Nice.
I mean, just based on building site applicability, and we could hypothetically rezone industrial, right? I don't know what a struggle that would be. But yeah, it's a mine, but it also has pretty good groundwater there too, right? I don't know where I heard that, but
Possibly, I don't know, I know where it is, but.
The V, are you,
yeah, I mean, just adding on a piece of 209, just so not everything has to be 100% car accessible, because I don't think Simpsonville has any bus service, right?
No, nowhere besides
Nothing.
209 has bus service, which is also why I wanted Lucas included, well, well, when it was 209 and Lucas separately, I was arguing very heavily for Lucas, because I felt that it was more. From what I saw for housing potential, having been in the zoning code and redoing the maps recently, I felt that there was more. Even though it didn't have the transportation factor like 209 did, because. The idea of getting Ulster County to get the UCAT to go down a road that parallels and then cuts over the same road the college is on. Opposed to them doing a route up Queens Highway or Sampsonville is way more tangible than that, than trying to get them to go up in the middle of a rural road and go to anything else that the line already goes on, so. But I also agree, I don't think you need to have accessibility, in everywhere for all types of housing, and I said this to that, I don't know if I mentioned this to the housing committee, but I don't know that anyone else I know no one else on the housing committee has, because I asked them, but even in this room, I've lived in every hamlet in this town. In my life. So I know not all of the individual tiny 17 ones, Kate, I see you looking at me like that, but the main ones, like I've lived on Sampsonville, I've lived on Queens Highway, I lived off of downtown Accord, I've lived on Lucas, I live on Kaiserreich. I've lived on Burn Road, I've lived in High Falls, I've lived in every single town that's not Accord or Kerhonkson that is still in the town of Rochester, so. Each one has a different thing, like I grew up 5 miles off of Sampsonville Road and I've never had a problem with having a job or getting to school or work, but that's because I've always had a car and know I have, so like I had the argument that not everyone needed transportation, when they like you can move to a rural area, you know what you're kind of.
The housing committee
Yes.
is definitely, as a group, I think were. Felt very strongly about
Yes.
at least one of the corridors being along the 209
Yeah.
transit route, and they had the potential of extending it to Lucas. As somebody who have been in a 1-car household, I have used it, and I have been in walking distance of it, and I'm not elderly, I'm not disabled. So I think that it is a thing, and I think that now that it's free, it'll be utilized, so that, and I'm speaking for a few other committee members, so that was something that they felt very strongly about, so I wanna just voice that.
Yes, yeah,
So-
and I don't think, and also one of the decisions, just so you guys know, the survey that had come back, one of the main, responses was that a need for senior housing in town, so that was also part of the backup for the wanting transportation. An easily accessible corridor, so that, if a senior housing, site is developed, and one of them's proposed as senior housing, it's still easily accessible for seniors.
so I think this has been really helpful. We are a little more than 2 hours into our meeting. So I think I just want to get a sense of, so Alexis, you like the idea maybe of that? Are you okay with the 2 sites for the bigger inventory, more generalized, being this V section and that?
yeah, I mean, I will always advocate for revitalization and increased attention on downtown Accord, but for the purpose of this project, that's fine.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, I think Lucas 209, Kaiserreich. It's one, and then I think with Sampsonville, we should just say. We we want to include 209 and just stop. Just shrink down how far
Yes, up.
north you go in Sampsonville, because the farther away you get from 209, the less viable it should be for multifamily anyway.
Yes, yeah, and I don't think that they intended, I think they were trying to get it to Kalaka Village because they knew that was one of the sites that the committee and like I had brought them there that we were interested in, so. Like knowing that we can pick that if it's not in the corridor to be explored too, if we
Yeah.
so choose, then I think.
Well, and I'm okay with it just being Sampsonville and that B section. If they feel like it's too much to extend to that little bit of 209, I'm personally okay with that. I think what I would like is if we could, if we're going to be picking two sites and that's gonna be a public process. I think it would be good to have a joint meeting where we can,
The design process is public.
yeah, I'm just, you were
Not the
talking about.
Site, no, just
No,
the
no.
site picking, so
I know,
Yeah.
so there's the specific site picking and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the corridors. We're gonna be selecting two sites. Outside of what we're doing tonight, I think it'd be good to maybe have like a joint. Kind of workshop where we could all look at sites together. That's all I'm saying, so I think we should pick these two and knowing that we have. The ability to like pick the two sites.
Sorry, I got cold
really
really quick.
Do I need to turn up?
I'm cold, but if everybody else is okay, it's fine. I was trying to do it
quiet,
quiet,
but I have tons of layers. Okay.
Okay,
Um,
so. It sounds like we agree.
Yeah, I think that, we can't, yeah, I just said it's also because the housing committee is advisory to us and the contracts with us, with HAs. I just didn't know who was the final, call in the process for us,
Mhm.
so I think for the next step, having a joint meeting is best idea.
Should we do a resolution selecting the two or? Is
Um,
the consensus?
I don't.
Okay. Great, so we're good then.
Mhm.
Since we're 2 hours in,
Just stop sharing.
sorry, I did not need that.
I wanted to, so my next. The Ulster County position requests, this will be maybe more just for our workshop agenda, but we have a few positions that, we had budgeted for. So because some of the position request refinement that happens with civil service takes a long time. I'm just letting you know that I'm gonna start moving forward on those. So that's the deputy assessor position to create an advancement in that office a little bit more. That is the position in my office, which I haven't figured out yet. I only get one appointment, so we have to do a civil service position for that role. And then we have the ongoing agenda item of the unnamed constable position, so I don't want to lose those threads, so. That was basically, I wanted to introduce. Also just let you know that I want to keep going with those, but in terms of like us. Filling a position, and funding the position and filling the position is a town board act. But I'll turn in the forms for the deputy assessor. I have to figure out what the right position for the part-time one that we did budgeted for my office. So I just wanted to let you guys know, make sure that you're all good with that.
So even as a part-timer, it would still have to be a civil service in your office?
It's, even if it's not competitive, it has to be a position on our position control list, so. It's just, I haven't figured out exactly what that should be and if I have to request something or not, so. But I thought that I had a bookkeeper and and a secretary to the supervisor. It was like, you can have one. You could have a bookkeeper, a secretary to the supervisor, or bookkeeper / secretary to the supervisor. But you can't separate them into two jobs, apparently.
The other one?
that is one thing I'm considering,
Okay, yeah, I was wondering, I was gonna say. 'Cause I don't-
but that title is called like finance assistant or something. There's not a
Okay.
bookkeeper, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's finance administrator or something, I've seen that.
Yeah.
They're listed, so.
I've been mining organizational meeting agendas from the other towns. Cause that's where they put their titles in. We call our positions by their title, but not, some towns just call them.
I see, I hear most of them because I see the postings for the jobs.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You should just go on you should look at the job post.
I do look at the job postings, actually, I get emails for them.
Cause there was a grant one that I read, that's why I was like, wait a minute, there was some type of semi-grant, like. It wasn't manager, but it was something like that. I'll see if I can find it on my.
But I do like the idea of a secretary to the supervisor because, and just in terms of what that person, the confidentiality and all of that, but anyway, we'll figure it out, but I'd like to try to get it figured out as soon as possible for all of them, because, it can take a while to get something on our list, if we don't have it there. Okay. Moving on, new business, so process for filling the town board vacancy. I think we definitely, what I want to hear from you for, the goal that I have for where we'll be tonight is for you to tell me what we want in that press release. So like, what items are we requesting from applicants? And I think, you tell me what advertising method you'd like me to do. And then I'd also like to set the deadline for when we want to receive applications by, and then the plan for when we would conduct interviews. I think it might be nice to put that all in an ad if we're doing the ad, but also we could even just do the deadline for the ad. As a reminder, for filling a town board vacancy, the interview happens in a public meeting. So we would either have it at one of our meetings, or we would schedule a special meeting for the purpose of conducting interviews, but it would be a public, it's not executive session. So.
So, the board, just before I was here previously, went through that process. Was there anything about the way it was handled last time that wasn't smooth or?
I felt like we didn't get the word out adequately, and I also feel like we didn't give enough time for receiving. We got like a flurry after the deadline, so that to me was like, meant that we didn't give enough time, and I think we gave 3 weeks. So I think we should give more than that.
So round up to like a month?
I think thinking about when we would think about conducting the interviews and then trying to set, a deadline near that. And if we are posting it in the notice, then people can know like, oh, they're gonna be doing interviews on this day. I don't know what you guys think, but I was thinking that could streamline the communication.
I think that's a good idea, I don't love making it a longer process, myself, just because last year dealing, with a non-full board, I personally felt very tied to this table. And that I couldn't miss meetings and scheduling things, so I personally don't love not having a full board, for scheduling purposes, so I would. Appreciate the sooner the better, but I understand your reasoning for wanting to give more time from last time. I do think it can be, I think we should just put it in multiple papers instead of picking one this time. Might be a better route to go for more communication for it. And maybe even have an email blast go out from. Did we do that? I can't remember if we did that last time. Did we have an e-blast go out?
That's not what on the website, didn't it?
That one, it goes out to like the
The
list.
300
Yeah.
list. Like maybe have that done also with it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we should also send it directly to our committees, because our committees are obviously engaged in town, know people. And have them circulated to people that they know.
Like the town board, like commit boards and committees.
Housing committee, ag committee. Planning board,
Hang a flyer up in like 5 or 6 local businesses.
yeah,
That would help.
Yeah, I generally agree. I'm really sick and I felt like, you know, a lot of responsibility to be here with a non-full board. So I think that, process of wide dissemination to get a lot of applications in, but then not necessarily extended on too much past a month would be my preference.
So if we give it a month of that, So-
what's the deadline to get in the journal?
Tuesdays.
So by next Tuesday.
the Daily Freeman is there's an opportunity for every day. Bluestone Press is every other week, so their deadline was yesterday or tomorrow. So we could potentially put it in their next.
Yeah, and then that'll still give time for people
Yeah.
to, so I think that's fine. I think we could do those three. Calendars, so.
I don't know how to do this because everything has to be done in public, but if we get a lot of applicants, is there a way that we could narrow down who we're interviewing? Or do you guys want to interview everyone that applies?
I mean,
Like if we got a certain number, I think it's kind of either we all or we have a criteria for,
hopefully we have that problem. It'd be great to have like 30 people that were interested.
Yeah.
I don't think we should do more than 10 interviews.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we could do something, where if we get, like, let's say we get 20 applicants. We do a review and ranking, and it's like a scoring, the way we would score.
Here's that going to do.
okay,
Proposal,
okay,
and then we just go with the top scores.
okay. Okay, so,
We probably don't need to use, we don't need to explain that. It's not like an RFP or anything.
it's not, I think in terms of like what we put out there, it might be nice to say like. Applying doesn't guarantee that you will interview or something, I don't know.
We'll interview the top. Or we'll interview 10 of the candidates or something.
Or if I receive an application, I can have a confirmation like that I received it with that type of information in it too. I could do that.
Yeah, also, I don't wanna, if we get 10 and 2 of them are people that we wanna interview, then we can also make this. I don't feel obligated to interview everyone.
Okay, so we don't necessarily have to make that decision now. Hopefully by our workshop meeting, we'll start to have a sense of how many will get in, because that'll be almost 2 weeks in. So we could make. So the 6th is a week before our regular meeting. We could make that the deadline, or we could make the 10th the deadline. So the 6th would be 1 month from today. But the 10th would be the Monday after. We have a scheduled meeting on the 13th.
So give them the weekend.
I think the 10th is fine to give them the weekend. I think we should then review them at our meeting on the 13th if we can, or like to at least make the decision how many members we have, what our next step would be. And personally, I think that we should have the interviews as a separate meeting.
Okay.
I don't love the practice we've had of doing interviews and then a bunch of other business at a long meeting. I'd rather have a separate
I like
hour-long
that
one,
too.
you know, so
Yeah, I like
I'd rather schedule and.
it could be on a weekend too, if you guys want, but
Friday.
That might not be a bad thing.
I don't
so
think
the
it's a
public
bad-
Can come and listen.
Yeah,
Because it is gonna be someone representing.
yeah. Yeah, we could do like a Saturday.
It's President's weekend, the weekend after that.
Yeah. I like this, I think.
Or I
this-
guess actually maybe that'd be a better one, because people are off Monday, they don't lose their weekend day then if they come and interview.
Yeah.
We can also do, however, we can allow people to interview via Zoom too. They're not on the board yet, so I don't know how you guys feel, but if we're worried about people being here. Okay, in terms of the, do you guys want to have, you want to tell me anything that you'd like in the press release? Or what are we asking people to provide? Cover letter?
Make sure they're
yeah.
completely eligible to be
Yeah.
electable.
Yes,
right.
It's number one.
yeah,
Well, maybe we should have something explicitly. You
Yeah.
have to sign something that says that certifies that you're a resident of the town of Rochester.
a US citizen and you can't be a felon.
Felony.
Right. For this and planning board, zoning board of appeals, board of assessment review.
You do my checks.
Sure.
I think. For. What we should. I have
First,
no
what do we want to see?
Just resume,
Yeah,
statement of
resume.
interest.
letter of interest. I'd rather have. A letter of interest than a resume on most people. I wanna know why. I like a resume too for backup in the interview, but to start, I prefer letters of interest to like base my decision on. So I would like it to be a letter of interest for the position with a resume, not like a. Not like a one word, here's my resume
Yeah.
email, you know?
I agree. We, last year, I think we said letter of interest and optional resume. We could just ask for a letter of interest and.
Yeah, why don't we do a letter of interest? Cause then if we decide if we have to do a decision-making thing on the 13th, then we can ask for resumes when they come in to interview from there to be supplied for interviews.
Well, are we then gonna be explicit about what we asked them to put in there then?
In the letter of
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
Like, we at least want to know.
Yeah, we had,
I mean, isn't that?
We had
letter of
questions last year.
Interest in the position? I don't,
There might be specific things
Yeah.
that you guys may want to know that they won't put in there.
ask them which road we should do a house.
which.
Yeah, I think
corridors
it's-
do you pick?
I think. If there are specific things we want everyone to answer, then we should put that in. If we feel like part of what we're wanting to know is someone knowledgeable enough to provide us with a good enough explanation of why they want to do this. So there's two ways, like we can ask specific things. Last year, we spent like an hour talking about the letter of interest. I think we ended up paring down what we asked. But we could just say letter of interest outlining.
Why you're like a candidate, how you wanna be a candidate, I don't love the idea of like prompting people with why they should be interested in doing this, I think that the people who tend, at least last time around, to throw their hands in the ring for the most part, like we're semi-involved, like some of the, well, at least like Renee, who we ended up appointing, she's worked in zoning before, like she was on the ag committee, like she'd been involved in town, like it was a town resident her whole, like she cited all those things when she sent over her resume and pointed them out, like I don't know, if someone can't tell me why they're good, why they want to be on the town board and are a good fit for it, if they don't know what we do, I don't know that it would be worth interviewing them.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning more in that direction now as well. I think the two prompts we should have with anything is. Why do you want to be on the board and why would you be a good? And then they can take that in whatever direction.
I mean, I'm just gonna look them up and looking for their job experience anyway, so if we're not asking for a resume, it's not really that material. But I kind of want to know like what tenure they have at their jobs. You know, and give a sense of how long they've been in the area. I mean, these are not things that people explicitly put in there. And but I'm not gonna like die on the stove. You know, I would like to know how people fill their days and how long they've been doing that. You know, I was a tech recruiting director for years and, you know, I kind of want to see the full-fledged picture, but I mean, I can look through your resume pretty quickly. But if that's not something you guys want to do, that's fine too.
No, I don't think we're opposed to I'm fine with getting resumes also, I just prefer I personally find having been a hiring manager for over 8 years at various companies, I find it more insightful to let someone, to get a letter of interest to know why they think that they're good for a position first before looking at what their qualifications are, personally, but I'm happy to get resumes too if they want to ask for them also. But we also we'll be interviewing them, so like things like how long they've lived in town, that's typically what I ask most people during the interview process here, I ask them how long they've lived here. So like,
Right.
that like, so for me, like, that's why I'm not asking.
And
that.
I just like, if my argument is that we kind of want, you know, given how young this board is, maybe it makes sense to, you know, have somebody with a little bit more supervisory experience or something like that. I don't know.
I'm fine having an optional resume. The reason I don't like a mandatory resume is I feel like it could be exclusionary. For people to. I think if we give the option and people have a resume,
That's fine.
they're gonna
I'm
provide.
fine with optional resume.
And then I think too, you know. Let's say we get a bunch of letters and it's not providing enough clarification, we want to interview people, we can also ask for a resume at that point. That's something we feel strongly that we want to have as part of the interview. Always come back and see like what kind of responses we get.
I'm with Alexis, I like resume and letter of interest, but I'm fine with it being optional also. And I might be biased towards people that submit resumes. But that's okay. We're voting, you know, not only one of us is making the decision. So I just want us all to feel like, you know, we all have our ideas maybe of like what we think the board might be missing. And we want to make sure that that's what we're thinking about when we're selecting. So the other thing I'd like to, would like to have the press release be the same structure that we did for the planning board, because that was very successful. So I want to have, this is what a town board member does. You know, ideal town board member, pretty general, just like, maybe we could put some sort of like, we want someone who will attend meetings. The time involved is, what do you guys think?
Well, I was gonna say we should at the very least, put the meetings are Tuesday or Thursday night typically.
Yes,
The first, like, what our
absolutely.
meetings normally are in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone, I get,
Minimum 12 hours. And
We don't have to put an hourly in there. I just for context, I think we both need to say, this is what the role of a town board member is, put it out there. That's something that's not transparent. That's something like, I know even when I ran for a town board and that even wasn't something that was like completely clear to me. So I think there's a lot of value in putting that information out there in a concise way. Our deadlines, and what we're asking for. So do you guys feel okay, having me put that together, or do you want to assign maybe one board member who could look that press release over after I've drafted it and make suggestions, just so we don't have to like come back together? Huh?
I would look it over.
Are you, is everyone okay with that? Okay. So
I just want to make a suggestion for the time thing for when our meetings are. Instead of like trying to say like candidates should be available, you know, for have open availability for meetings or whatever. Maybe we put ideal candidates should be available the second and fourth Thursdays of the month for meetings at night, like like to say that the ideal candidate is available for our meetings instead, while they're applying to kind of. I don't know, I guess.
I don't think it hurts.
I make it ideal, make it be like known that we want
Yeah, I
someone
think,
who's gonna have a chance, you know?
yeah,
Appointments through December and we have. a meeting
we,
in
I think we are all going to value the people. I mean, I think there's a bunch of things, but definitely we want people that can speak to being able to come to the meetings.
That could be definitely a thing during the interview process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good interview
But
question.
yeah, on
Yeah,
your,
it
on your
is.
press
Yeah.
release, you could say the Town of Rogers Town Board meets the second Thursday and
Yeah.
fourth Thursday of each month, sometimes additionally. There
Yeah.
may be additional
Yeah.
duties. It could be up to approximately 15 hours a month.
Yeah,
And a good candidate will at least go back and look at how long these meetings were and how many there were.
yeah. Okay, great. So we've got
So.
resume or
Is that-
letter of interest with optional resume. We've got a deadline of February 10th at 3 p.m.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 p.m. so that, I mean, you have still have 2 days to circulate. As we can
And we
review
should,
that, we,
how do you guys, do you want to receive things as they come in?
I prefer to get them in one. Thing is easier for me, so I can like look at them all at once, but.
Or could
No.
could we have you receive them? And then if a board member wants to check in and see
Oh,
and have you
absolutely.
send.
If someone
what-
wants to even email, say, have you received any yet? And
Okay,
I can say, yes, do you want them?
okay, great. Okay, so we'll have them send send that stuff to you, that way you can. Is that okay?
That's fine.
I like that it goes to the official, reporting channel. so
Yeah.
That way.
Me too.
With this, especially because it's the only thing we have to do, like all of it is.
So I'll write, I can write though, like a little auto response for them, just so, because people aren't gonna hear like.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks,
Yeah.
I just want them to, okay.
Yeah.
The thing about like we will be evaluating who will be interviewing at a later, okay, great. Great,
Should we? Sorry, just before we go on, should we pick the date for the interview so you can put that in the ad if we wanted to? Sorry, did we say that or did I?
Let's wait
Yeah,
and
we can
see.
wait too. and
See how many
we get.
come in.
we can see how many come
Oh,
in
yes,
and,
it's February, sorry, I'm thinking it's next. I'm thinking it's Monday, 13th for some reason, I'm like, do we wanna pick a day, cause we're gonna have to advertise that by next week. We
Yeah,
have
so
it
if
scheduled,
we wanna do a
but-
weekend. Weekends get planned closer to the weekend.
so you're saying you might not come?
I don't even know what I'm doing. next week.
Like,
I don't-
if I'm in plans the weekend we schedule it, I'm just not gonna show up.
We'll do it on Friday night.
Too bad we can't kick you off the board, just kidding.
You and Friday nights.
Okay, we have 2 meetings, scheduled that we could do those interviews. And like I said, if we're concerned about not publishing the interview date, we can offer Zoom if you guys are okay with it.
For the candidates.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of like to meet them,
yeah, okay.
but I mean, maybe for extenuating circumstances.
Well, yeah, it might be then, I think. Well, we'll hope for the best in terms of picking an interview date
Mhm.
after we receive applications.
John Kelder showed up here after getting his jaw wired shut for his interview for the ag committee. Anyone who won't show up in person, like, loses all bets now since then. Just.
Okay,
But. Yeah,
so it's 9:13. I want to try to get us out of here pretty soon, and we have some executive session topics. So for this, if I could just, let's try to spend 5 minutes on the next item. What I wanted to do with this was, I'd like to circulate, I'd like this to be a big part of our workshop meeting. So 30 to 45 minutes. And what I kind of would like to do is circulate some homework to you guys. And I wanted to get your consent on that and also your input. So what I'm thinking of doing is having like a 45-minute session where we try to come to some working agreements for our priorities so that I know that we're gonna be onboarding a new board member, but I don't feel like this should wait until March. So I just wanted to say that the four of us can do this, and basically the goal will be to kind of have a really good working plan for the year. So like, what are we agreeing upon as a body that we are going to try to accomplish this year? With the knowing that any board member can, can do things, but I think it would be great for us to sort of come to consensus on the things that we are, come up with a calendar, and then help build our agendas. The other thing that I think would be really useful for us, since we're a group we're like a non-chosen group, we're like an elected body, for us to have a decision-making agreement where we are able to talk about what each of us needs in order to feel okay with a vote, right? So it doesn't lock anyone into a yes vote, but it sort of ties to what information do you need? How comfortable are you with an 80-20? Like, I'm 80% certain that I'm okay with this versus, just, I think having those conversations can be really good for us. And then also timeline, capacity, and then I think just getting like, what are you guys up for? Like, what are you up for? What do you want to take on? What do you want to do? Are there things that are part of our goals as a body that individual members are like, I'm going to take this chunk of this on and then I'm going to bring it to you? So I think just having the conversation, I can facilitate that conversation in a non-5-hour period if we've all done some homework. So I was hoping to give them to you tonight, but I wanted to just circulate some worksheets. They're basically just like 4 blank sheets that have like list these things. But it's like your priorities, like your sort of like expectations for how you want to make decisions, what you need. And then also, I think it's good for us to talk a little bit about our process, how we talk to each other, what we're okay with. And then together in that meeting, we can take this information and set a timeline. So there are some things that we've already kind of put in motion, and I'll definitely try to make sure that I am capturing those things when I'm bringing that into the meeting. But what do you guys think about that? Are you willing to do that homework and commit to doing that type of process at our workshop meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I find it, because as a newbie, it's useful to go through everything in a granular way, but in the future, I would like us to come in and be ready to kind of vote more quickly on these things rather than go through contracts line item, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. The next thing is another with the reorganization that I did with the board and commission, where I just like liaisons are to boards and commissions. I made like this template that is like just a reporting template. So some of our boards and commissions aren't in the habit of doing like a monthly report. So I just made that and I circulated it. I might have circulated the wrong version to you guys, so I'm going to double check and resend it. But I sent that when I was introducing Alexis to her boards and commissions. I included that template for them. So that could be like an intro for that, but I thought there are, we have others that don't have that. We have ones that do, and that's great. And I don't want to replace anything that they're doing as long as if it feels like it's working. But I wanted to ask if you guys, I can send like a week before the meeting, like, hey, like, we'd love to hear from your board or commission. Or you guys could do that. Like, in terms, there's like never been a open conversation about what a liaison is. So what I'm really expecting out of this is that I want to work towards everyone feeling like they know what they're doing, that their strengths that they're bringing to their work is what they're supposed to be doing, and that there's not like a question. I feel like there's a lot of we haven't really had a great practice consistently of letting some of our boards and commissions know what they should be doing. Obviously, planning board, zoning board of appeal, like, we don't have a say on those. But for the other ones, especially the ad hoc committees, and so do you feel like that sounds like a reasonable ask of you to sort of like think more about answering that and making sure that like if there's things that we would like to see or ask or provide, that we're like offering that more directly?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to send that template around as like an automated thing, or you guys are fine just shepherding your own boards and
Well,
commissions?
you've already sent it to my committee, so.
For this month, yeah, but like a monthly,
monthly
do we
thing.
need like a monthly thing?
I mean, I'm perfectly happy because it gives me a reason to make sure I'm touching base with them at least monthly, and also gives me or us like some standing for saying, hey, this is our buy-in to the process. So I like that.
Okay, you like handling it yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
great, okay.
Yeah, I can handle mine, right? I mean, like Ashley writes me a script.
Yeah.
To read, a very well-written one every month, so, and housing, they've just been doing too much. I don't ask them to write me anything right now because they've been so busy with.
Yeah.
They're very dedicated.
Yeah.
But I'm fine going forward with the new committee that'll be formed and everything, to just contact them and see if they can get that.
Yeah, and it's more just boilerplate, like, what have you been working on? Have you had any challenges? Do you want to buy anything? I mean, it's like, if the answer is not, you don't have to answer. Oh, oh no, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, I think it's better to have the board members do it.
Okay.
Because I don't want the committees to feel like we're requiring you to do this. I think it's better if the board members, the liaison, is asking the questions and doing, kind of helping fill out that report. Because a lot of these are volunteer committees. that are
Yeah.
getting paid.
I will say that the feedback I've gotten from the committees with the form is they're like, I wish we would get that every month. It's a great structure for us.
Yeah.
I don't know how others, but the couple that
That's great. Yeah.
they just liked having questions to answer, but again, yeah, it's not required. It just is a suggestion.
I mean, my worst case scenario is that these committees are doing a lot of great work and feeling like it's just going into the void.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I want it to be a meaningful communication channel.
Yeah.
And it gives us something to refer back to as well.
Yeah.
Okay, monthly town board member voucher audit schedule, we need to get this figured out. So we had agreed that we're not gonna have an audit meeting. So that means that once a month, 2 board members have to come in on your own time and audit the vouchers. So typically we have had the audit meeting like 5 p.m. that day is when everything is done. So if we do it where you guys are auditing it on your own time, we have to lengthen the amount of time, and I need to create deadlines for staff, basically, for when all that prep work needs to get done.
So wait, I can shadow somebody for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will, you will come into my office and yeah. It'll probably be a little bit more comfortable even. Well, who knows? Yeah, you can ask questions. Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to like, who wants to be the first two members? And that week, is it reasonable to just give you 2 days ahead of, because then we have to approve the abstract at the workshop meeting
That's what I was just about to ask you. So we have to
in a public meeting.
approve it by the 4th. Or did we, hold on, in that, resolution, is it the 4th or the last? Fourth, thank you, I was like, so. if it's a- Can we,
So basically. The thing that I'm a little afraid of is not afraid, but we might need to start kind of splitting it into two because we're looking at. So basically, typically it's Thursday and usually I review everything. Wednesday and Thursday. So I have to do that before. So basically,
Is there a reason it's once a month?
it doesn't have to be, but that's up to you guys. Whoever's assigned that for the month, it's up to you. Do you only want to come in once a month to review things, or are you okay coming in twice a month? So everything has to get compiled. I have to approve everything, then you audit it. And then it gets put together as part of the abstract, then we approve the abstract.
What's easier for your office though?
Stephanie really likes the idea of two.
2 audits a month of every 2 weeks.
Of like not like
2 tranches.
2 tranches of. She prepares everything as it comes in anyway, but there's like I review them, we look at budget codes, like there's like quite a bit of work that happens at the last week.
We need 2 board members auditing. Plus you.
Yes,
So when we have a 4th board member, we could even do like the first 2 weeks of the month could be 2 board members and then the second or 2 board members. So you're still only coming in once a month. We're just alternating and doing it in 2-week chunks like that.
yeah. Some of the other towns they actually do quarters where 2 board members are assigned. For like 3 months and then 2 board members are assigned for the next 3 months.
Yeah, I'm just
So
saying.
whatever you guys want to do. But we need to figure something out for the end of this month.
I'm just wondering, sorry. If it's every 2 weeks, why can't we just sign them at the end of the meetings?
Well, it's almost 10 o'clock now.
No, I know for tonight, but.
Yeah. So I think that's,
I mean, I'm fine. I can usually come in on like a Friday. Every other Friday. So.
I mean, I'm unemployed, so I'll obviously take the.
yeah,
Or
Fridays. would be really
rotate.
hard.
Fridays will be really hard.
Because our, the meetings are on Thursdays, so you would need everything to be done for you a week in advance.
I see. Okay, well, I can figure it out.
Aaron, can you always have them done the Monday before the last meeting? Like, for the most part, like the 3 days before the meeting, the last week, to have them signed?
I think if we did that 2 times a month, we could, but if we're only doing once a month,
In the month?
that. I think it would be fine. I'm just concerned about stuff that's due at the beginning of the next month. Not getting those invoices in, sorry. Sometimes it depends on when we get an invoice, so. There's a lot that goes into this, and part of it is that you get an invoice sometimes after the middle part of the month that's due on the 1st, say. So that's it. That's why I'm like, oh, we need to maybe have some flexibility. Also, we don't have to lock ourselves into like a set. This is a new thing that we agreed we were gonna try.
Yeah.
And
What
I
are we
think
asking aside right now?
what date, which two board members are gonna do it this month and when I should have the vouchers done by.
I can do it this month.
I can do it this month.
Okay.
When do you wanna have?
If
the
Alexis wants to go in and also
Okay.
look at it,
Yeah, just because two of us do sign it, there's room for all of us to sign it, Alexis, there's five
Okay.
signature spaces, it's just required that at least three of us
Yeah,
do the supervisory.
Okay, what's the time commitment per meeting if it's done twice a month? Or does it vary?
it
Is
varies,
the vouchers?
yeah.
yeah, like January is gonna be big, cause you may have
Yeah.
stuff from December and
Yeah.
January.
The first time, it's like a couple hours probably. Also, I hear what you guys are saying. One of the reasons why we wanted to go to this is so that we weren't taking 2 hours out of 5 people's time once a month. So that's why we were like, if we just assign 2 people a month, then
Well,
we're reducing the time.
it's still the two people assigned, I was just saying, have us sign them here so that it's still the same 2 week. You have the same dates every month, your schedule's already set for it, is why I was wondering for the meetings, it can still only be two of us that stay to sign them. You know what I mean, and then leave them for you if there's time, but that's why I was thinking it might be easier scheduling if they went along with the meeting still, even if we didn't sign them at the meeting and still sign them that week. You know? I thought it might be easier that way. We're like available for at the meeting if we wanted to take the time, have the time.
We still have to approve the abstract after the audit of the vouchers.
So,
But for the whole month, for each time we look at them, we have to approve it.
Technically, in order to pay the bill, you have to sign off on the abstract sheet. That's what, technically, that's how the bill is getting approved.
so you're saying you wanna approve these on the 23rd?
Yes.
So when would you be able to have the vouchers ready for that 23rd meeting?
I think probably by noon on the 21st for sure. I could try for noon on the 20th also.
Okay, I can plan on coming in either the 21st or the 22nd. Sign, and then after that, I think we figure out the 2 week.
I'm coming on. I can come in during the day on the 22nd.
Still do it at the same time.
Yeah, you just can't do it at the same time. Yeah.
Only 2 of you can be there. If she's in the office, then you're the fourth.
Oh, they could go into another room, right?
Well, I
Oh,
guess.
They're a little off.
I guess I just wanna, the reason why we were doing this is so that we don't have to have these super long meetings or have 3 meetings a month. And the goal is that the board members assigned will just schedule their time with Stephanie, but you don't have to be doing it at the same time. So it just creates a little bit more flexibility around it. That was the goal. So it could be in the evening.
Yes,
It could be during the day,
sounds like the 2 of us can do it.
in that time
If they're
frame.
ready by noon on the 21st, we can figure out how to get them signed.
Okay. Great.
All right, one of you just CC me out when you're going in so I can shadow that first time?
Yeah, but you can't go in with somebody.
Oh, I can't go on.
You're
here,
the
you?
shadow
I
Aaron,
just have to
because
shadow
3
check.
of us is quorum, and if we're doing town business.
Oh, right,
we're
right.
Quorum, so.
Okay,
Or we could get a key to.
That's why we always did it as a separate meeting, and then all 5 of us were here, because 3 of us had to sign, so we would just kind of round robin.
Yeah, you can also,
Fine,
if you want, Alexis, anytime, you can come to my office, we'll pull out an abstract and I can just show it to you.
okay.
And you can, like, I can, if you're like worried about going into it next month or something,
That's good.
yeah, then you don't have the pressure of like, But you can come in anytime and ask to look at any of that stuff, but we can definitely sit down,
Okay.
look at an abstract. Go through, we now have a list of all of the recurring payments, like, what are we paying every month?
Right.
What are these doing? And you can kind of learn those patterns and stuff like that,
That makes sense.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
Halfway through.
Okay, so we got a zoning district change request for SBL 68.19-2-12. That I included in the backup. It's a parcel that's R5. Request to change to R2. Part of their application, they stated, I haven't like done all the looking at it. They stated that it had previously been R2 and was like rezoned at some point and is now R5, and it's under 5 acres. So, last year, the board had said, we want to consider all zoning district change requests that come before us. So what that means, so the zoning district change, anyone can apply. The process for that is a legislative act. The town board, though, in our discretion, we don't have to consider them. So that's like my first question is that, do you guys want to consider these one by one? Do you want to consider them wholly? What I was thinking we could do is I could reach out to the applicant, ask them to spend 10 minutes or at our next meeting, present their application, any backup materials, and then we could decide at that meeting whether or not we wanted to move forward with the legislative act. But I wanted to see what you guys thought about that proposal and like,
Yeah, do we anticipate getting an avalanche of these, or it's just been one-offs here and there?
it's one-offs here and there. We did get a bunch last year, but that was like an outlier. It's because we were doing the rezoning, and people like wanted to have their properties rezoned faster than
Yeah,
the mapping process.
do we take into account, like, if somebody's selling it immediately, or that doesn't matter, we just let them make the argument?
Well, so as a town board, we can really sort of like, you guys can make your decision if it goes to a vote. You have a lot of leeway on that. However, when it comes to zoning, our decision should be rooted in the comprehensive plan. So us rezoning a parcel for the benefit of an applicant is not okay. Like, that's spot zoning. So it can benefit the person, but there needs to be an underlying alignment with our comprehensive plan. Or,
Or the neighborhood structure.
or something that is aligned with that district. And so that's just like something. We have had some that have on a previous board, I had some where I was like, I don't want to consider this because we're busy and it takes time.
Yeah.
We have to do seeker and, so I personally, as part of this like working together agreement process that we're going to talk about, I personally don't think we should consider all of them, because I think we should be mindful of the time that it takes. But but maybe what we should do is always allow an applicant to come address the board and state their case so that.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think that we should allow them to always come and state their case to us
Mhm.
for and apply if they so wish, but us entertaining them or not, I think. That's exactly what you said, like scheduling wise, or like this one, like I'm like, okay, if the adjoining properties are actually the same zoning as this says, like I would entertain this
Yeah.
and pursue it then if it's to match the rest of the zoning on that side like that, they're adjoining parcels. But I'm sure there's some that like you would not go in. I think I was the one who said that last year, and I have a soft spot for zoning district changes because I had to do it on my house because I was zoned as a school
Yeah, fun time.
commercial, even though I owned the house. So yeah, I'm fine with it changing to this. We grant
Okay, so
that instead.
great. And I'm sorry for all these discussion items, I'm hoping that we will streamline a lot of this so that we don't have to but since we haven't, we're kind of a new board, I don't like putting stuff on agendas that you guys are like, what? All right, the revisions to the comprehensive compensation and benefit manual. Yeah, but I would like to do those at our workshop meeting. And if there is a board member that would like to do a review of it with me ahead of that meeting, that would be fantastic. So that we can not have to discuss every little thing as a board together, but you wanna do that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have some stuff that's come up already, but I think just going through it quickly. Okay, presentation of local laws, so, I already found like a typo, okay. So, local law blank, so. What I listed in the agenda are the local laws that I wanna amend. So. The first one that's stapled local law blank of 2025. This is to amend local law 6 of 2024, which is chapter 140 zoning. And I just realized I didn't have Mary Lou look at the intro of this to tell me if I should be saying amending chapter 140 or amending local law 6. I need to say both. Amending.
Yeah, that's definitely
Like the
what we're
local law
looking for.
rescinding. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to be
Amending.
amending, you're gonna create a local law amending. Local law 6 of 2000.
I think that.
Local
Looking at
law
that.
amending.
Local law 6, 2024 pertaining to chapter 140, so.
Amending chapter 140 zoning breakdown Rochester Code.
Okay. So the sections that this pertains to, and like, please forgive me, but there is not a shortcut for strike through, so I stopped. And I just want us all to cross out all the page numbers, so. I didn't pay attention to this, we didn't pay attention to this, we adopted local law 6 with page numbers, but these are not the right page numbers, and I do not want to have to amend. Page numbers, so. I accidentally, it looks like I pasted the table of contents twice. So these middle. Oh, yeah. Middle pages, you can get those down, sorry about that. Sloppy. And then up to that planning board section. Okay, so we're removing page numbers from the table of contents, it's just a. Schedule of the code chapters. Then the next section is definitions, 140-3 word usage. The only amendment is the part that I have in there, which is a typo. I had done a strike through and amended this, but when I saved the PDF and circulated it to the town board, I didn't double check, and the strike through was not in the PDF. So what we adopted has says a convenience market may also include the sale of gasoline and or a car wash, but shall not include the repair or service of vehicles or the sale of gasoline. And it should say, we were trying to remove gasoline filling from the code. So, I think that should say, but shall not include the repair or service of vehicles and or the sale of gasoline. So that last or should change to and or. Alec, did you feel strongly about reducing the square footage of a convenience mart or?
I did, and also anything about, it's a 1 story, so does that mean it precludes addition of living quarters to that? To that structure? Is there anything about that, or does it work that if it's not included, then they're free to build that, or?
I think you could have multiple uses in the same buildings if it's permitted in your zoning district, but they would be separate uses. So the convenience mart would not be able to do beyond a second floor. But you might be able to have apartments on top of a convenience mart.
Okay, I'm just saying that, like, do we want these kinds of buildings, like, 5,000 square feet is a gigantic building, and, you know, they start putting in things like sandwiches, and these are chains, and then they start competing with, local proprietors, and I think that there's an argument to be made to limit their square footage of, retail area.
I mean, I think it's more a problem that it's a 1 story. Because if you look at, and I know it's not functional right now, but if you look at the building across from Main Street, that used to be a convenience mart that had 2, 3 apartments above it. So, I mean, it's actually a good way and something we encourage in the hamlet. Now, not necessarily convenience marts, but the idea of having a retail space with apartment space above it. I don't think that's a terrible thing. But you couldn't do that if it's only a 1-story building.
It's not building, it's the store, the retail space itself is limited to 1 floor.
Well, then we should say that,
I'm just saying
retail
this,
store
I-
on the ground level floor. The story is, I mean, that's not clear then. Story is story. Right,
Mhm. I guess so. I just don't think that. So,
I mean, there's enough opportunities for mixed use, retail and living quarters, or, I mean, we just don't want proliferation of a bunch of chain convenience marts. So I just want to make the argument for, you know, making more restrictions so we don't have these, because the way I understand that you want to build more housing, but the way that these happen in practice is that it's just one, you know, one apartment that's specifically for, the chosen manager of that market to come in, and so it's not exactly servicing housing needs of the community.
I'm not averse to having the actual floor space of retail store under 5,000. I agree, that's a large.
and I actually think our code now limits it to 4.
Yeah.
So. But we should reduce it.
Well, why don't we reduce it now, and if we want to revisit having something that allows for the multi-use residential retail space. I mean, I guess that is covered under other
Yeah, the Hamlet
parts of the
designation.
code. Yeah, well. I think in general, I think you can build that in more than Hamlet. I think you can build that in business too.
Are you?
So what do we think for the square footage?
I say put it to 4,000. I think that's what we put in code 2 on the spot.
We definitely capped retail space at 4,000 feet. I think it sounds like you're advocating for making it smaller than that.
Yeah, smaller, 4,000 is still massively large retail space.
What is this room? This is like,
I measured it one day, but I forgot.
we totally forgot.
Count the tiles.
Yeah,
My only argument.
Do-
Sorry, moving it less than 4,000 feet, having worked in the food insecurity business for 5 years, we're the largest designation of rural food desert that the USDA has in this area, which means that they have to travel for like larger affordable grocery stores, like boutique grocery stores don't count, or farmers markets don't count, so we have a food like I know that we're in an ag area, so like fresh produce, it's not, it doesn't seem as extreme at times.
We have
but-
gas stations every mile on 209. I don't think that this is an effective way to address food insecurity.
I would definitely disagree. I miss the one gross convenient mart that was in Kerhonkson that's now a gym that I used to buy groceries at opposed to Emmanuel's. But
If we could do 3,000, I think 3,000 is still a large. How big is the food pantry? You know, how many square feet it is?
2,500 and more space than that. Yeah. And that fed on average 800 residents a month. Cause you have to think that the actual store it's set, we're saying that's for the entire retail store. It's not that 4,000 square feet are gonna all be shopping area. They have to have walk-in freezers, which are on average at least 500 square feet. They have to have a walk-in fridge and freezer. That's one of each of them. That takes up a huge portion of buildings. That to me, like. Any percentage for a grocery store, any type of food, dry good food, supplying inventory business. I would say. It needs at least for 70% of that square footage, at least 30% of that square footage, if not 40, has to be for back of house for the storage, stockroom, office, bathrooms, walk-in fridges. You have to also, if it's an actual like grocery store, depending on what they do, produce can't be stored for health department in the same fridge as dairy or meat, separate ones. That's
Well,
more
she could
space that
build
goes into it.
A grocery store under convenience mart, because the definition is different.
Yes, but like a convenience, so. A convenience mart, I don't know if any of you guys lived in town when the 209 market was here, that was right next to Stewart's. That entire building, the whole bottom floor was a grocery store. And deli to get sandwiches at, and then the top was apartments that the family that owned, it was a one if not two apartments. That the family that owned it lived in. It was a perfect example of mixed use that you were talking about, and that's gone now, and we've never gotten. It got replaced with Dollar General, it doesn't have nearly as much
Right,
of a.
and that would be great. I'm just saying the reality of the developers that are trying to push in are not like a mom and pop proprietor that want to serve fresh fruits and vegetables. They're going to be, take that square footage and put a giant beer walk-in, a beer cave in there. So I'm just being realistic about what the development is.
I think, so one thing that I think maybe we're getting caught up on that maybe is. I think maybe it's possible that this is an outdated term. Because retail and service establishment, you could be a chain. And open a retail and service establishment, which is our code. And do, something like this. So I think this is just meant to, I think the reason. Originally, this was in the code to be like, you can sell these things plus have gas. Or,
Yeah, it was to
so
allow food service, a gas.
Yeah, so I
not
think
to-
it's possible that what we just need to do is strike this. Definition, but I don't think there's anything in our code that's gonna preclude like. A chain from doing something that could be like this under retail and service establishment. So I just wanna. This is just like a term, but retail and service establishment would allow you. To do. Exactly.
And that's set at 4,000.
Well, our code sets. The maximum retail space for new uses at 4,000. That didn't used to be anywhere, but it is in the new code.
So let's match that.
Yeah, we can just match that. So let's go.
I'm happy to just strike it out of, simplicity.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm sort of,
Let's strike it too.
it's only allowed in like 2 zoning districts with a special use permit and but we have retail and service establishment that's stores and shops where goods and services are sold primarily at retail, direct to consumer goods such as food and beverages, florists, shoes and clothing, hardware, paint and wallpaper, carpeting.
Wait, do we have, car wash in our code anywhere? Cause if not, this is the only spot. No, car wash is the only thing allowed.
No, shall not.
No, it may also serve as a car wash.
Well, that was the other thing I
Include
wanted to ask
sale
you
of a
guys.
car wash. That's what I'm wondering, because there's no car washes, and I'm wondering if we should.
Yes,
Take-
you can, a service establishment, vehicle and equipment, where are those allowed? Those allow car washes.
Okay, cool. So then I'm fine with striking it, then I just wanted to make sure that we had that this wasn't the only section we had car washing in the code to like somehow accidentally ban car wash.
Well, you wouldn't want them in the aquifer overlay anyway.
Okay. Then. So. Delete, I don't know. I'm like feeling insecure on what my format should be for this. So 140-5.1 overlay districts, I pasted the whole thing in, and the changes that I'm recommending are to I. So we kind of have already done this in our code.
Yeah, you're just adding the fuel sales so it matches that we don't have.
Yeah, I-
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense, I'm fine with it.
I didn't want to say or retail sales because that could be like bottles of.
Oh, like
Oil.
water or oil, like
Yeah,
in the
and I
store,
don't want to
yeah.
ban that from.
Yeah, from yeah. I'm fine.
Does that look good? Okay. Do you guys want to?
Can the town put in the code, a maximum amount of gas stations they want? Like, can you put in a code, only allowed 3 operating gas stations
Right.
at a time?
Mary Lou, we've asked about that.
Oh.
I think we are kind of doing that with the short-term rental law, but I think capping, we'd have to create some sort of permit section with a cap of permits. So we would need a chapter, basically. We would need to do a new chapter.
Okay, I didn't know if that could be something covered in here.
I mean, if you guys want, like, so for next steps, so there's this. I'm sure there's gonna be other things, but I wanted to, these ones that have been keeping me up at night. I want us to move forward on. We could, plan to schedule this for a public hearing at our workshop meeting. We could schedule it for a public hearing now, but I'm a little insecure about, that first statement, but, you know, we can make it. If we plan to schedule this for a public hearing at the workshop meeting, you know, if you guys felt like you maybe had some other changes you thought we should put in, like just quick and easy ones, I don't want to do any philosophic changes necessarily. What do you guys want to do? So I think we should either schedule it at the workshop meeting or
For the workshop.
schedule the public hearing at our workshop meeting. Once I confirm that the phrasing at the top,
Are you asking if you want us to
She
schedule it
would-
right now?
or do you guys want to do that right now?
She wants to pick the schedule, I think, at the workshop. meeting,
Oh,
is what
okay,
you're
so
saying.
schedule.
You-
I'm asking you guys how quickly you want to.
I think we set it at the workshop meeting like you would like, so you can confirm the wordage. And then if anyone else has anything to bring, we can bring it back. we can send you an email by next week with it in case there are any other changes. So yeah, there's time before the meeting to set the public hearing.
I think we should just schedule it now.
If we, will you, I know it's almost 10 o'clock. I can look really quick at another one to make sure. If we make substantial changes to this, we would have to wait and do it.
Public, yeah,
So I'm like weighing, do we like make sure it's 100% right? Schedule it at the workshop meeting, or do we schedule it and hope that we don't have to schedule like a second public hearing?
so the process would be to, review it, Mary Lou, at some point.
Yeah, I would just type this up with these changes we talked about, send it to her, have her tell me if I got the formatting correct.
Mhm.
She would advise, and then we would have a final version
Okay.
in 2 weeks.
Could we have a draft of that too?
Yeah,
Look at, okay.
yeah, it's gonna be the same as this with it saying local law of 2024.
Okay.
And then all the remaining cross outs that I just did by hand.
Okay.
Then this definition, it's gonna say word usage, deleting the definition of convenience mart. And then it'll have this, but I've never done a local law where we're just changing 3 little sections.
Okay.
So I'm a little, I've only had it where we do one. So I don't know in terms of listing all 3 of them in a row. And then it'll have the same top page, which is the severability and effective date, that has to be included. So I know that's right.
So that's not including the possibility of creating a new chapter of code to cap the gas stations, that.
Correct.
Process.
That would not, I think that would take a long time, but right now they're not, gas stations are not allowed.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the aquifer protection, and petroleum products are like, other fuels, it's not just
Right.
gas stations, and so I thought, well, that's kind of the spirit of this too.
Yes.
So we should make sure that that's included, the way it's worded is a little. And.
I mean, I'll go with your comfort level, so.
I'm just worried if we had to make a substantial change that we would just have to wait another month anyway, so maybe waiting 2 weeks, getting it right. We can schedule the public hearing.
I'd rather wait the 2 weeks and get it right.
Yeah, this is not gonna be controversial, so I imagine that it will be. Okay, sorry. You're right, I shouldn't say stuff like that. Then let's plan to schedule, so this is kind of a formality. We are about to have our assessor go full-time. The reason why the date that we have for our grievance day is on a Thursday is because we have an assessor that works in other towns, so that's what allows us to do that. Otherwise, it's supposed to be on grievance day, which is a Tuesday. So we passed local laws allowing us to have grievance day on a Thursday, but we really should have it on grievance day once we have a full-time assessor. And then also our assessor would really like it to be on grievance day. So Mary Lou prepared this for us. It's basically a rescinding of the laws that scheduled it on a different day. So we can schedule this for a public hearing, or we could do them both at once. Grievance day is in May, so we just need to.
I think we should do them both at once. I think it's easier to just do small public hearings like this back to back when we do them. And I'm just wondering. He's still technically doing another chat, like we do this now, even though he's still doing Rosendale right now,
It's,
while they transition out.
I feel like getting it scheduled for a public hearing.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it won't be in effect even if that does.
Yeah, also, that is gonna be happening soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if it was like potential to go into towards May.
No, it's
So I
not.
didn't want
It's
to
not.
make it so that we caused a problem where we couldn't. to
Yeah,
later.
it's not, we'll know definitely by the time this passes, for sure.
Oh, cool. Right, then,
But thank you for that. I meant to give that background. And then the other one, Mary Lou was gonna draft. She ran out of time. She's gonna send it to us before our workshop meeting. So that one is just to require stamp plans for all residential buildings, not just ones over 1,500 square feet. So she's gonna present that, and maybe we can schedule all three. So. I think we have our tasks for the workshop meeting. We're gonna do that. This sort of, kind of. Community agreements. Working session where we come up with our, like, what we'd like to work on this year and how. And what our like minimum. What we want our like policy for things like public information sessions and how much time things should take. So we're gonna have that. We are going to have the compensation benefits manual. We're gonna invite the zoning request change. We will review those. Hopefully, I'll have a little bit of an update on the position requests. And I think if we have the zoning, the building code enforcement. Fees should have that, and we can either adopt those that night or workshop them a little bit more depending on how much. Input we get back from the questions that you guys had. And so that's hopefully gonna be the bulk, and we'll approve the abstract. So I'd like to kind of keep it to that unless something comes up, but we're trying to make workshop. And business meeting decisions. So. Well. We have a public comment and no public because we went so long. Sorry, you guys.
listen, the record's the next day for me for my longest meeting, so you're good.
Like to make a motion to enter into executive session.
Second.
At 9:59. For the purposes of discussing matters pertaining to the medical history of a particular employee and matters leading to the discipline of particular employees. At 9:59.
I already put AA.
Okay, that's fine.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
That's kidding,
Wow,
but I really did.
All
All right, guys, have a good night.
I know, that's like the whole purpose.
Very good, I can't believe you made me talk.
Can you stop talking?
Oh, just.
Have a good weekend, everybody.